Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you, and thank you for joining. We're discussing the South Australian election results. It's very interesting. Obviously, Labor's already won at this point. Malinauskas has the mandate of heaven, so he's already smashed it. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining. I've had about 12,000 subscribers join since the NDIS video, so there might be some new people watching the live stream today. Let me know. I think we've already got 15 people watching live on YouTube and about 50 on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're on Twitter, I encourage you to go through to YouTube. It's a better viewing experience. Leave a like as well. Helps reach more people. And we will be discussing the South Australian election results.
Just looking at Tim Whetstone earlier, after the last election, that was the safest Liberal seat before the redistribution that the Liberals held. Now 2/3 of people living in that seat voted for someone other than the Liberal Party. That's a remarkable turnaround in what is the jewel in the crown of the Liberal Party, the seat of Chaffey. It's amazing, and it comes down to the calibre of the candidates and the calibre of the campaign. And again, I go back to the exceptional work that the Premier has done. And I think the message here for me is when you flirt with One Nation in seats like Unley, in Bragg, in Hartley, in Morialta and Colton, where people are well educated, dual income, and you start flirting with Pauline Hanson the way Miss Hearn has, they're being punished, and punished very, very badly for it. And there are a lot of Liberal MPs who are paying the price for that flirting with One Nation. And I think you're seeing it in Metropolitan Adelaide. I think Metropolitan voters would like to have seen the Liberal Party take a much stronger point of view towards Miss Hearn, to the One Nation than Miss Hearn did. And what you're seeing with us is a principled position, because a lot of Liberal MPs in the regions are going to be elected because of Labor preferences, because we put One Nation last. And that is going to be telling for the Liberal Party, and that is their biggest lesson tonight, I think.
Anne Ruston?
Well, I mean, preferences matter. I mean, we've got a compulsory preferential system, and that's why we have preferences, so that you end up electing the person that, or you don't elect the person you don't want, but, you know, that's the way preferencing works. And obviously, you know, you make the decisions on the basis of that. But, you know, I think, you know, what we've seen tonight gives us a huge amount of, you know, thinking to be done around what we're seeing. But, you know, the Labor Party preference the Greens, you're always having fights with them. But I think, you know, all of these things are up for grabs now in terms of the rethink about where we are, what we're doing. But to say that Ashton was flirting with One Nation, I think is probably a little bit harsh. I think what she did was she tried to lead in some very difficult circumstances. She put her best foot forward, which I think was a very...
Let me know, guys, if the audio is working. Let me know if the YouTube ABC link works well. Yeah, 12,000 subscribers in about 1 week. We've got some lefty troll. Wow, harassing Muslim people really earns your following these days. I literally harass 0 Muslim people. I'm a very peaceful and respectable person. I've never harassed a single person based on their religion. That is complete bullshit. Of course, it's just a communist troll in the chat. Been doing great work. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
Let's see what else is making news.
Drew, update on whether you got Australian billionaire funding. I have not gotten any yet. We'd love to get some. We'd love to get some billionaire funding so I can build a proper studio. Keep doing exactly what I'm doing, but build up the studio.
The Category 2 system is expected to re-intensify as the storm
Thank you,
moves
guys.
west
Cheers.
through
We've
the
got
Gulf of
35 people watching live on YouTube. I think about 150
MPs
watching live on
eastern
Twitter. If
coast
you're
are
watching on
being
Twitter, I
urged to
encourage you to go
prepare
through to
for
my
damaging
YouTube.
winds, heavy
Better,
rain and flooding.
better viewing quality. And I'm really trying to boost up my channel. I'll quickly show everyone the stats recently. But basically, there's been 22,000 subscribers gained over the... We're at 22,000 YouTube subs, which is awesome. Look at that. It's beautiful. 11,000, 11,000. And then the NDIS video dropped and it's at 22,000 now. So I'm very, very proud and very happy. I want to thank everyone for their support. And we'll go back to the ABC News thing. But I just wanted to thank everybody who's tuned into my YouTube recently.
I think the whole innuendo of the sort of home detention that I'm on, the allegations that sit there which haven't been proven,
And yes, please
haven't
like
been
and share. Well said by Miss
were
B
too much for the
4771.
electorate to
Please
turn a
like and
blind eye
share.
to.
Captain
And that's
Dreamer
the only
collab.
way to
Yes,
look
I
at it.
actually will do a live stream
Look,
with Captain
one
Dreamer. That would be
voter
funny.
said
I
to
actually
me,
want to do
well,
that.
If we don't elect you and you're then cleared and found to be innocent, that would be too much for us to lose. Well, that must have been too fewer people saying that. And I think that's probably what it comes down to, that presumption of innocence with what I have faced, it's almost like it evaporated. It wasn't there. And sadly, I believe it should have been. I had to plough on and look and act as the member right up to now, go through an election, right up to today and tonight, as on the back of that presumption of innocence, because nothing else has been substantiated. And that sadly, the electorate
Nick,
didn't tolerate that.
This is absolutely before the courts, so we can't say whether these have been substantiated or not. This case is before the courts, so we really need to...
That guy apparently got re-elected after bashing his
were
wife.
a member of the Liberal, you then were an independent. Seeing outside, you were inside before, now you're outside. What has gone wrong with the Liberals, do you think?
Oh, look, I don't want to sort of run the Liberals down, but I really do hope after this election, firstly, I would say I'm absolutely very, very pleased that I did not have to bat and run as a Liberal in this state election. I don't think I could have survived it. It would have probably been more stressful than some of the stresses I've been through just recently.
I've come full circle with you. Love your work. Thank you, Kafir001.
The Conservative...
Dude, it's crazy. This guy, Nick McBride, apparently he assaulted his wife or something like that. That's the charge before him. Obviously, it's alleged. He's facing criminal charges that he won because he got kicked out of the Liberal Party. They kicked him out of the Liberal Party because he was facing criminal charges, and then he won because he was an independent. That's how unpopular the Liberals were in South Australia.
The other sad point I'd have to say is that there's talk, and maybe it's only from the Labor perspective, that the Liberal Party are suffering doing any sort of deal, conversation, and aligning themselves to One Nation. I actually think, and totally disagree with this, I think that when you talk about Conservative politics, you talk about leadership, you talk about outcomes for regional South Australia, and to think that One Nation isn't a Conservative party and they're not forced to be reckoned with, I think that is what's also probably come back to bite them, and Liberals actually need to recognise that they share similar values and similar politics. They may have some differences, absolutely agree, but the differences are a lot greater with Labor and the Greens. And that is why I think it's very sad that any sort of conversation would take place that One Nation is not a Conservative party, it's not seen as Conservative, and it's not a force to be reckoned with, and I think that's what's been proven here tonight.
Nick McBride, thanks for your time tonight.
A pleasure, Emma.
And we have just heard that Ashton Hearn is expected to arrive at Liberal HQ in under half an hour's time, so we will bring you those pictures as soon as they come in as well.
And Rustin, we'll give you a chance to respond to some of what you've just heard there from Nick McBride. The Liberal Party has lost them when he's speaking to the voters. What do you say?
Well, I mean, quite clearly the results tonight show that the Liberal voters are not voting for us. And I mean, you can't really sugarcoat that. That's the way it is. But the thing I probably would disagree most with what Nick has said is that, that somehow the Liberal Party has the same values as One Nation. We don't. We have our own values. Our own values are steeped in the Menzies traditions of, small government, personal responsibility, reward for effort, all of the things that I actually intrinsically believe in and why I'm a member of the Liberal Party.
Liberal Party is so
I
washed,
think
it's so
that,
boring, who cares?
We have got to create or re-establish our identity.
Liberal Party
in
is
the public
literally
space.
so boring. Literally
You
no
don't,
one cares. At this point,
you
literally
don't
no one
beat
cares.
a
They've got
party
4 seats in
by
South Australia.
becoming
Boring
a
as hell.
party. You,
Listen to her. What's she talking
become
about?
victorious by
Menzies.
standing on your principles.
Menzies is over.
telling
It's
the-
80 years
the-
old.
the
It's okay.
community
It's
what you
80
stand
years
for.
ago. It's 80 years ago.
And
Menzies is
actually
over.
giving them something to vote for. So I would disagree with a lot of what Nick just said in that regard.
It's just
And
boring. It's
can I
just
ask
so
you
boring,
about
man.
how the results that we're seeing tonight might be playing out on a federal level?
The
now,
Liberals are
federal
so
midterm
boring. That's why
elections
they're
in 2 years'
dying. The
time.
Liberals are
Could
boring.
we see One Nation start to have more of an influence in other states and territories too?
Well, look, I think there's a long way to go in this whole situation, in the sense of, obviously we've got to do some work to re-engage with the voting public who would...
Someone says, follow the steps of Nick Shirley and investigate childcare, Medicare and elders care. These comments will play... We will... Next one I want to do is international students in Australia. There's a big international student scam ring in Australia taking place. I want to investigate that.
Staying with their party. I mean, Sarah Game here in South Australia was elected as a One Nation candidate, and, you know, she left them. So I think, you know, they're trapped.
I agree with the sub here, user 86C. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. Menzies would be turning in his grave at the state of this party. It's so boring. All they can do is recite these boring old cliches about small government, libertarian economics. No one cares, okay? No one cares. You have to talk about culture. You have to talk about the national identity, preserving the national identity.
And change going forward.
Casey, looks like you've got some more results. Let's go to Davenport.
Has Albo seen your video on the NDIS? He's not going to be watching it. Of course, he's not going to be watching it. I'm not holding my breath.
Davenport. Now, before I go to the numbers, I just want to say this was a safe Liberal seat 2 elections ago, held on an 8.8% margin. It was a surprise Labor gain 4 years ago. And now here are the primary vote figures we're looking at now in Davenport.
Wow.
The Liberal Party has fallen to 4th position.
4th place for the
and
Liberals.
Erin Thompson at the moment has more than half
They
the
are
vote
so dead,
in
man. They're so
Davenport.
dead.
One Nation running second. One Nation is second.
Can't wait for the student scammers vid. Thank you, Kafir. Yeah, that's the goal.
Has a long, storied Liberal Party history, and One Nation is second, and the Liberal Party is 4th.
Drew, reveal which party you'll be voting for in the next Australian election. We've got a secret ballot, mate. We've got a secret ballot in Australia. I think Australia actually helped create that beautiful tradition. This Australian secret ballot, they used to call it. So it's a secret ballot at this point.
Shaking out as a 2-party preferred swing of more than 14%. This is becoming, it seems, a very safe Labor seat. This is I'll just say this is an estimate of preferences we're getting at the moment. So treat that one with caution as we wait for more of a count to come through. But with Erin Thompson on more than half the vote, the primary vote, she will be re-elected. She will retain that seat.
Okay, and the next up, you have got the seat of Waite. This was going to be an interesting tussle. Frank Pangello looking to switch chambers here.
Yeah, and Frank Pangello is running in 3rd position on the count we've got at the moment. Catherine Hutchison has more than half the vote again. The Greens are in 2nd place on 19.5. Frank Pangello 13.8 and One Nation on 10.4. And so let's again just quickly show you the change in vote here. Liberal vote down 8.8, and the Labor vote here up significantly. This seat's complicated because Sam DeLuc and Heather Holmes-Ross were both independents that gained a significant vote here, so a lot of that seems to have gone toward Labor with the absence of those candidates in this race.
Now, we spoke about Black a little earlier this evening. Casey, take us back down there, held by Alex Dighton, and of course, the former seat held by ex-Liberal leader David Spears.
Yeah, Alex Dighton should have no trouble being re-elected in this seat. He'll hold it for a 2nd term. The Liberal Party has fallen to 5th position, below David Spears, below the Greens.
Apparently, Nine News has
One
called
Nation,
2 seats for One Nation.
Absolute crashing of the Liberal Party vote in Black. I'll show you the change in vote. The Liberal vote is down 40 points on the vote that we've got at the moment. A really, really significant...
Mali won on the back of all the yayas who think he's Greek. Yeah, that's true. I thought he was Greek for a long time. I thought Malinauskas was Greek for a long time. He's actually a good guy, I think. Malinauskas overall is a good guy. Obviously, I don't like what Labour's doing as a whole, but I think individually he's maybe not too bad a person.
What's going on?
I do obviously hate what he said about the migrants.
That was a more complicated count. We've got Labor, Jenny Minton on...
I hated what Malinauskas said about, you know, we need the migrants to wipe bums. That's obviously psychotic. Absolutely psychotic. But I thought he was Greek. Lee Kuan Yew says he's not Greek. Yeah, apparently he's Romanian. Who would have thought it? He's Romanian or something like that.
At the moment we're getting...
It's very hard. I think Lee Kuan Yew respecter is true in the sense that Lee Kuan Yew wrote this. Lee Kuan Yew Respecter, one of my favourite X accounts. I actually encourage all my followers, go to Lee Kuan Yew Respecter's X account and follow him. He's a great poster. He essentially said, you know, Malinauskas has a bit of the Donald Trump quality, where it's the sort of Teflon Don effect where nothing he says can ever come back to bite him. He's a powerful guy. It's probably because he goes to the gym. You know, politicians, they do need to go to gym.
Okay, thanks, Casey. And you knew tonight was going to be tough when you said yes to coming on the panel. Did you think it was going to be this tough?
Of course, yeah. Malinauskas wants to increase migration, so there's no way that I would ever support him. I would never vote for him. But, you know, you have to respect the man for what he's pulled off at this election. He's a good campaigner.
You know, I'm really proud of
He's a
my
Lithuanian,
party.
he's a
Tonight
Hungarian,
has
and he's a
been,
quarter Irish.
by the looks of things, a less than glorious outcome. But I'm absolutely committed, as I'm sure Tom was in 1993 when, you know, the Labor Party got an absolute shellacking. You know, I am a true believer. I believe in the values of the Liberal Party, and I'll be here for the rebuild. Yeah, it's a tough night, but as I say, I'm not just somebody that turns up for the good times. I'm happy to turn up when they're tough as well.
I think what we're seeing tonight is really interesting because South Australia, it's traditionally been more of a centrist state, and it has been a state that has had a history of third parties. We saw obviously with SA Best, the Democrats as well, and yet One Nation's been able to come through in this campaign, and as we're seeing from the results that are coming through, doing quite well. I'd be keen, Tom, in your mind, do you see this signifying that South Australia is moving from that centrist position to more of a right-leaning state?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I was thinking when Anne was answering that question earlier, when Nick McBride was speaking about his view that One Nation should be embraced, not scorned, and I'm wondering if Alex Antic was sitting where Anne Rushton is now, what he'd be saying. Now, Alex Antic is #1 on the Senate ticket. He is probably one of the controlling senators of the South Australian Liberal Party. He has been very, very vocal in his support of One Nation. I think it's going to be a long time in the wilderness while they're trying to work out whether they support One Nation or whether they should be like One Nation. I think Anne is right. I think Alex Antic is wrong. But he's taking them down a path that I think could lead to very dark places for the Liberal Party. And if that continues to occur, seats like Unley, Morialta, Hartley, Colton, Morphett, those suburban Conservative seats, 2 elections ago when Stephen Marshall was first growing in popularity, they'll be unrecognisable. But that's the path they're going down. And you saw it with Nick, and you've seen it with Alex Antic during the campaign. I don't think the Liberal Party's for turning here. I think people like Anne and Ashton are sort of the last bulwark against that movement, and I think tonight it's washing over them. And I think the Liberal Party are about to embrace One Nation in a way that a lot of their voters will not recognise and will not reward.
Anne, is that your fear, that your party will be unrecognisable soon?
Well, I disagree that that's where we're heading, but, you know, there is absolutely no doubt that, you know, we do need to make sure that we return to being the Liberal Party that we once were. The Liberal Party...
Sorry guys, my webcam froze for a second, I'm back. Somebody said, are we going to be hailing Pauline Hanson? I'm not making any endorsements.
Sadly,
I'm a free agent in this politics.
For 4 years of,
But we
this,
want to see a general shift towards
you know, we
conservatism,
need to
a
return
general
to the
shift
party
towards
that-
restricting
that
immigration.
South Australians and Australians were prepared to vote for. And that's the party
This woman is so boring, I have to say. She is not... She's why the Liberals are losing.
that I think I represent. That's the party that I think has the same values as me. And that is my job as one of the leaders of the Liberal Party.
This person's so boring. Who is
to
she?
make sure
She's
that
so
happens.
boring.
And
Oh, we've just got to be more moderate.
Very willing.
What's the point?
sidekick,
Everyone
her
will just vote
sidekick,
Labor.
Perhaps her sidekick in Ashton to make sure that we do exactly
Drew, your
that.
endorsement is very valuable.
Though,
So
with this
true, easy
challenge of
money.
One
Very,
Nation,
very
and I
true.
guess looking at tonight, we could say that your biggest challenger now is One Nation and not Labor. Will we start to see Liberal policy shift more to the right to try and win back some of those One Nation voters?
Well, I think that we have to have policies that reflect the values of the Liberal Party. And so we need to, first and foremost, we need to reaffirm our values as what it is.
Guys,
to be
80
Liberal.
people watching
Then
live,
we
thank
need to
you.
develop
Please leave a like
policies
on the
that
stream
actually
on
reflect those
YouTube. It
values,
will
and
help
then
us
we
reach
need
more
to
people. I
communicate
appreciate
to
it.
Australians in a way that Australians are receiving their information. I think, you know, if you want to look at it, there are a whole series of places there that improvement can be had. But the reality
Oh my
is
God,
that,
is she blaming misinformation?
unless
She's saying
we
people
can
aren't reading the right
reaffirm
news.
those
Oh my
values
God,
about
they're
what it
so,
is to be
they're so
Liberal,
deluded.
then it makes it very, very difficult for us to be able to communicate. But I am absolutely of the view that we can do that. But yeah, there's a lot of hard work to be done going forward from here. I'm not shying away from that in any way, shape or form. But I think Australians deserve to have a centre-right party. The Liberal Party is centre-right.
Drew, I'll vote for who you
It's
say.
Menzies, it's John Howard. It is a centre-right party. It's not a far-right party, although it does.
What's the
include,
point of the
you know,
centre-right? Can
Conservatives
someone
right
explain
the
what
way
the centre-right
through
is?
To the centre of politics. We have to sit in the middle. You cannot.
What
win
is the
from
point
left,
of
you
centrism?
cannot
What
win
is the
from
point of
right.
sitting in the
You have
middle?
to sit
Nothing.
in the middle and reflect those values. And I think Ashton's done a great job of doing that.
Literally, who cares? What's the
But
point of this?
That is very important, because if you move away
She's
from
why they're
those
losing.
values and you start trying to appease one way or the other, that's when you get into trouble. You win from the centre. History has proved it every time. The Liberal Party wins, we win from the centre.
We're now going to check in
Just-
with what is
just
going on in the
deluded.
seat of
Just
Colton in Adelaide's western beachside suburbs.
Yeah, the NDIS video is almost at 700,000 views. It's crazy. Centre-right means fiscal conservatism. Yeah, I want to fight communists, okay? I like tax cuts, but that's not enough for me. I want to fight communists. You actually have to take the fight to communists. So I don't really care that much about tax cuts. I do want to pay less tax, of course. I do want to pay less tax. But at the end of the day, the most important issue to me is destroying communism. That's much more important than tax cuts. And that's why the centre-right is dying in Australia, because no one cares that much.
The Greens in 4th position on this seat. We're getting a preference.
Oh my God, Adelaide Zeri, that lady, she fought with me in Amnesty International.
Showing a really
She attacked me, I'm pretty sure.
swing toward Labor
Funny,
in
very
this,
funny.
in
Of
this,
course she's a Greens
argument
candidate.
seat, and that will be enough to see Aria Bolkus become the next member.
Look, I think Malinauskas is like, he's like a Chad guy in the sense that he goes to the gym and stuff like that, but I hate his
Casey Briggs
politics.
has just called the seat of Colton for you. Congratulations.
100 people watching live. Thank you guys. 100 people watching live. Please leave a like on the video.
Campaign. I know that the Deputy Premier Kaya Ma has been alongside you for much of the campaign. I can see Joe.
Can you please stream more? Yes, I'm going to be streaming more, guys. I will be streaming more. And thanks for the super chat.
How has the support been as you've tried to turn?
Thanks for the super chat, Robert. Surely the Liberal Party will not blame Antich. How about the Liberals get with it, start working for Australia? One Nation getting more votes makes both parties work for their votes. They're just going to blame Antich. Of course, they're going to blame Antich. They're going to say the problem was that we were not left-wing enough or whatever.
Shane Rich and David Wilkins and all the Labor Party team in general across the campaign.
How hard has it been? Let's talk about that. Like, how difficult has this campaign been? Because campaigning, I mean, it was on a margin of more than 4%, Aria.
It's been a long campaign, but it's been a campaign I loved. I was so grateful to have the opportunity.
I just have to say, this is so funny. So a couple of years ago, I was involved in Amnesty Australia, and this lady from Adelaide, her name's Zeri, her last name's Zeri, like literally attacked me viciously inside Amnesty International. And now she's apparently Greens. Good on her. Very funny.
Campaign in the place that I've grown up in with the support of Mark.
It's a fucking small world, isn't it? It's a fucking small world.
Campaign, and I'll be forever grateful for that support as well.
It seems like you've got plenty of support on the panel here as well.
Cos Samaras is going to say that this proves that everyone should be a communist. That's what Cos is going to say. Cos is going to say this is why the Labor Party should embrace communism, even though Malinauskas is very centrist in many ways. Even though One Nation is surging, he's going to say this just means you need to embrace communism. That's what Cos Samaras is going to say.
Yeah, I think that obviously I would have loved for him to have been here, but this is exactly where he'd want me to be and exactly what he would have expected me to work hard from the get-go and to get this. So it's exactly what I've done every single day since being pre-selected.
Aria Bolkus, thank you and congratulations.
Congratulations, Aria.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm glad I don't have to live there, I have to say. You know what? One thing I do like about Malinauskas, he does embrace AUKUS. He does embrace the submarine jobs. I fully back that. I fully like the AUKUS submarines, okay? I love the AUKUS submarines. I love the US Alliance. Where Malinauskas sucks is his sort of cringe obsession with promoting infinity migration.
On the news channel and ABC iView, you're watching SA Votes from the ABC Election Centre in Adelaide.
Somebody says, would you run for One Nation? I'm not running for anybody, guys. I'm very young. I'm only 26 years old. That's like being 15. That's like being 15 these days. The way that life extension technology is going to work. 26 is the new, 10. And so I'm still very young. I've got a long way to go before I run at any future election.
We keep showing this graphic because it is so clearly.
Look at that. Guys, okay, look at that. Labor back 1%, One Nation up 19%, and Cos Samaras is going to say, here's why we should all embrace communism.
Most significant stories of the night. The Liberal Party is down 17. One Nation is up 18.8.
One Nation up 19%. That's insane. 19% for One Nation. Can you believe that? That's an extraordinary result. Even Labor's actually lost 1.4% of their vote, which is actually incredible. They're winning this massive landslide, but it's more a result of inefficiency on the right side of politics. The right side of politics was cannibalized and fell into infighting. Labor actually lost 1.4% of their vote, but it's One Nation's 19% gain. That's what really shakes things up.
The Greens and Labor Party are roughly steady on the statewide primary vote. Labor has been re-elected. Labor has an increased majority.
They just took the Lib votes. I mean, they took some of the Lib votes, but also Labor did lose 1.4% of their primary vote.
This is the biggest win in terms of seats in South Australia's House of Assembly in...
What do you think of Restore Britain, Drew? I like a lot of the things that Rupert Lowe has to say. I don't like some of his surrogates on television. He sometimes has these kind of like Groyper surrogates on television, and I think these Groypers are idiots. You know, there was this one guy, Charlie or something like that, who's a Restore UK surrogate, and he went on television saying we've got to ban, you know, usury and ban porn, and we have to implement like Catholic Sharia law. Like, just focus on immigration. Just focus on immigration. The main thing that we all have to focus on is immigration. Stop English people becoming a minority in England. Don't tack on all this random sort of Catholic trad stuff, because you're going to lose. You're going to alienate people. The one unifying message that everyone needs to get behind is English people should not become a minority in England. Don't tack on all this random stuff like, oh, we're going to ban porn and we're going to ban usury and we're going to ban, I don't know, like kosher slaughter. Like, focus on stopping English people becoming a minority. That's my Australian. But I think Rupert Lowe does have a lot of smart things to say.
History, but at the same time, this election has massive national implications. This is a disintegration, particularly on the Conservative side of politics, of the two-party system that we have seen. Now, will that sustain itself into future elections or not? That's going to be probably a question for another day. But I've just been been looking at the map of Adelaide and looking at the leading candidate on the primary vote, excluding the Labor candidate. I'm trying to get a picture of who the candidate that is non-Labor, that is sort of most challenging Labor, where Labor's set to sweep nearly every seat. In Adelaide, One Nation is leading all of the non-Labor Party candidates in 17 seats. The Liberal Party...
Yeah, I agree, User. We can't bring religion into it. The core thing that everyone in conservative politics in England and Britain need to be doing is they need to be emphasising England should not become a minority English country. Britain should not become a minority British country, a country with 1,000 years of history. Don't start going into this sort of Catholic trad Cath stuff. Oh, we're going to ban people kissing before marriage and stuff. Don't do that. You're going to alienate and weird everyone out, okay? It's true.
Party is leading in...
I like Connor Tomlinson, though. He's a very nice and smart guy. He was very nice to me when we met up.
9, and the Greens are leading in 5. This map looks very strange compared to wins in 17 seats. The Liberal Party is leading in 9, and the Greens are leading in 5. This map looks very strange compared to what we're used to. It is, I've said it a few times, it's a political earthquake that we're watching happening in South Australia tonight. It is a massive national political story that is going to have implications all around the country.
Yeah, it certainly is. Casey, thank you. And we want to dig into that in a little while. But first, Tom, this is going to be your second term in government. What are some of the challenges? Because at the moment, we're all talking about interest rates, we're talking about the cost of fuel, the cost of living, and you're looking at a huge deficit of $50 billion debt by the end of the decade. How are those factors going to affect that debt?
I think the biggest...
By the way, guys, we've got almost 100 people watching live on YouTube. Thank you so much. That's an amazing audience. Thank you so much, guys. Please leave a like on the video. It helps us reach more people.
Begin talking about that. We've seen this deal that the Morrison government did to give Western Australia, you know, $6 billion extra a year in GST from the rest of the country. That is something that the Commonwealth government cannot sustain. These make good provisions will only last till 2030, and then you'll see states progressively worse off. Western Australia are showing budget surpluses. We've got a housing crisis.
Yeah, we've seen the federal government and Parliament looking at capital gains tax reform.
I've got a comment saying One Nation will win 6 seats.
Closed potentially indefinitely. We don't know what the impacts are going to be.
Wow, guys, extraordinary news. One Nation is at 28% of the upper house vote. That is incredible. 1/3 of voters in South Australia voted for One Nation in the upper house of South Australia.
Holding up. The question will be long term. If there's a ground war, if this war escalates, then things can change.
Have there been any conversations had about rationing at a state level?
No, they haven't been. And it would be, that's a matter for the Commonwealth Government. If the Commonwealth Government say to us we need to begin rationing, then we'll look at it. But what we're seeing is not a supply issue, we're seeing a demand issue.
But to Emma's question, will it be the case that in this new term of government you'll have to rapidly accelerate your cost of living relief to people, given that there are these emerging issues that have come up through the campaign, the fuel crisis, one of them?
To be fair, I got the wrong information. It was the upper house vote is very the count is very short, very premature at this point. It's in the low single digits. I'm sorry.
Obvious, blatant lies. It's impossible for politicians to do that sort of thing. And that's what I think you're seeing.
How much has the Iran war affected the Australian economy? It has started to affect the Australian economy substantially. We only have 2 fuel refineries in this country because we shut them all down and then we basically import refined fuel from overseas, from Singapore, from China, etc. And that means we are very vulnerable to supply shocks. And so Australia is actually, unfortunately, one of the most exposed to fuel supply shocks in the West. And unfortunately, that is the result of retarded politicians in Australia shutting down all the fuel refineries in the name of sort of this climate cult, self-flagellation.
Meet our demand, as long as we can stop the panic buying. That's the key.
Okay, well, let's head over to Casey.
How long will you stream for tonight? I will stream for a while longer.
I think you're looking at some independents.
Yeah, seats in regional South.
91% of liquid energy is imported in Australia. It's extraordinary, extraordinary stats.
But, I'll just say at the start.
Sup, Dodo? Thank you for joining, man.
Complicated races. So let's go to Finniss. I might actually go to the map. We're a few hours in, and I'm getting.
Wow! Thank you for the super chat, Johnny. $10 super chat. Thank you, guys. Very kind and generous. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the work that you have done for Australia over the years, and especially these past few years. Interesting times indeed. Advanced Australia Fair, Payande, Iran, Yusra Kai. Look, thank you for your kind support and commentary. I appreciate it a lot, Johnny. We want to support the West. We want to free Iran. We want to destroy the threat posed by terrorists. Thank you for your support, my friend. I appreciate it.
Phoebe Redington, the Labor candidate. Let's bring up the primary votes. David Basham.
Drew, have you heard of comparative advantage re-imports? Yeah, the great comparative advantage where you get a massive fuel supply shock because you can't refine any of your own fuel. It's very smart, dude.
Labor. We're making a lot of educated guesses here, which is why we're being very cautious.
Thank you, Johnny. You're a king, brother. Thank you for your support, my friend.
Favour Lou Nicholson, which
thank you, Johnny Fletch.
Into second position. She may be able to win from third position. You might guess.
Will One Nation win any seats, or will preferences fuck them over? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many seats they're on track to win right now.
Third position. I think back to the 2009 Frome by-election when Jeff Brock won from third. Isn't that right, Tom?
That is absolutely right. We are preferencing Lou Nicholson. And I know the Greens are preferencing through to Lou Nicholson, and I know that the other independent is also preferencing. This is about who comes second. If David Basham comes second, his preferences will flow to Greg Powell. If Greg Powell comes third, his preferences will split. Now, One Nation are not directing preferences.
Or it depends on if someone's filled out the how to vote card with some pen.
Now, if they've put just a 1 in the One Nation box, those preferences are distributed equally to Labor and Liberal. So it'd be very fascinating. This would be a very difficult count. To use the old adage, harder to pick than a broken nose.
Exactly. Yes, I would maybe put Lou Nicholson's nose very slightly ahead, but a lot to do there. As we look at these, as Emma breaks and we look at these figures, the other thing I'll just urge you to look at through these seats is, look, we've got 3 candidates in the low 20s and then 1 in the high teens. So we've got very even splits of primary votes in Finniss. Now, let me take you to Carvel as well. I'll do the setup on all of these potentially. Dan Cregan is retiring. He's endorsed Matt Schultz, the independent. Bradley Orr is the Liberal.
These Gen X's are so unfunny, bro. I don't want to be too mean to Tom Koutsakis because he actually follows me on Twitter, the South Australian Treasurer. What can you do?
Based on the results of the last election, here's the current primary count. 17.5% counted. Again, look at this. We've got 3 candidates between 21 and 22%. Matt Schultz leading.
Honestly, seeing One Nation 49% in one of these races in South Australia seems huge. Even 28% in South Australia from One Nation feels huge to me. Truth nuke, or am I being delusional? No, it is extraordinary. It is certainly extraordinary. We are potentially witnessing the death of the Liberal Party, and it'll be interesting to see what that comes next. It could be One Nation. I think we are seeing something similar to what the UK is going through with Reform UK overtaking the Tory party. I think that's what we're seeing right now.
A vastly redrawn seat. I'll show you the map to see. Oh, I keep doing the wrong button. Sorry, everybody. Let's jump through back to Stuart. Setup will bring me the map of Stuart. Vastly redrawn. This is the biggest seat in South Australia.
Max, LNP Queensland introduced optional preferential voting. It might backfire and lose them heaps of seats where One Nation primary finishes ahead of the LNP. You could be right. You could be right.
Back now, Jeff Brock is leading the primary count. He has just over a third of the vote. One Nation is in second. The Liberal Leon Stevens is in third.
Rod is correct that One Nation might end up getting 0 seats with 20% of the vote due to preferences.
There, but the complications here are giving us a bit of caution. You would favour Jeff Brock at this point in Stuart.
Easy Money says this. He says One Nation needs to moderate like Reform did, and they'll be fine. It will be interesting. We will have to see whether they can become a party of government. But it is looking like the Liberal Party is potentially dying. That is what it looks like right now. It looks like a death spiral for the Liberal Party. I have to be honest. Guys. It looks like the Liberal Party is in a death spiral right now. It looks like that right now. And we don't know whether the Liberal Party can come back from this. It looks like they're in a death spiral.
We'll very much say these were all educated guesses. We don't have a lot of data at the moment. That Tanya Stock may end up a nose ahead there. But that is the very complex picture in the bush.
Drew, can you whip it out on stream? No, I won't. I won't do that. I won't do that.
We're waiting for, in some cases, a full distribution of preferences.
Casey, thank you. Let's take you now to Liberal headquarters. Angelique Donnellan has been there on the ground for the evening. Angelique, it has been a difficult night.
Thank you, guys. We've got more than 100 people watching live on YouTube, 100 on Twitter as well. Please leave a like on the YouTube video, guys. Go and subscribe and leave a like. Helps us reach more people. I really appreciate it.
Maybe people were expecting this result, so maybe it hasn't come as much of a shock as perhaps it would have been. Now, we're told Ashton Hearn, Liberal leader, is not too far away. She's coming from the Barossa Valley, so she should be here at about 9 o'clock. Well, it's 9:05 now, so a few minutes, hopefully she's not too far away. Now,
Drew, start stroking your shit on stream. I'll donate two bones. That's disgusting. That's fucking disgusting. That's evil and fucked up.
Her reflections on the night when she arrives. Earlier,
Labor has won a massive landslide. They've lost. Their primary vote actually went backwards, but the Liberal primary vote absolutely collapsed, and much of it went to One Nation.
He said he was surprised at how well One Nation had done. He noted there had been pain for both sides, for both his party and Labor. He said that there needed to be a real stock take of what has happened, and that will take time to unpack that and, you know, what this result actually means. But he did say, obviously, there are national complications from it. So, yeah, hopefully in the next few minutes we'll see Liberal leader Ashton Hearn arrive, and we'll see what she has to say to the party faithful.
Angelique, have you seen many MPs or candidates through the headquarters yet?
Yeah, we've seen a few. Stephen Patterson is here. Heidi Girolamo is here. Obviously, I said I've spoken to Ben Hood. We've had, you know, a few other, elders of the party. Alexander Downer was here. I had a chat to Nicole Flint as well. So there are definitely some, familiar faces here. People, like I said, people have actually seemed, you know, relatively chatty. I do wonder whether, as I mentioned, that, you know, maybe they were, because they were expecting, you know, a bad night, that perhaps that hasn't, you know, it's what they've expected. They, you know, they hope for the best but have prepared for the worst. But I think obviously everyone is very keen to hear from Ashton when she arrives, and hopefully that won't be too long.
Angelique Donnellan, thank you.
Sky News has called an upper house seat for Cory Bernardi. So Cory Bernardi is in for the next 8 years.
OK, well, let's go to Anne now. Anne, do you think this is what people expected in the Liberal Party?
Well, I mean, I think you've only got to have looked at the polling over the last little while and realised that, you know,
who else is streaming live? Can I watch Sky News live here? No, it's not.
Can't fatten a pig on market day, as the old saying goes, and I think it was probably pretty unrealistic to expect Ashton to have done much more. But, you know, she's hopefully saved a number of seats tonight, and as I say, The rebuild starts from here.
And as early as, election night 2022, we knew that it was going to be a rough time ahead for the Liberals. But in your mind, at what point did you really feel like the polling could be as disastrous as it is? Because from our perspective, I mean, I know there was some internal polling released while Vincent Tarzia was still in the leadership position, and there was some suggestion that that had some influence in prompting the leadership change. Was it at that point, or did you feel like much earlier in the term things were going wayward for the Liberals?
Well, I think if you have a look at the experience that we had last May 2025 at a federal election, quite clearly, particularly metropolitan Australians, were quite challenged about their preparedness to vote for the Liberal Party. So there were certainly some pretty early warning signs there. And the subsequent instability both here in South Australia in terms of the Liberal leadership and the federal instability have clearly played in to a result that we're seeing today. So I think, you know, anybody who, I mean, sure, it became apparent that One Nation was having a surge in popularity towards the end of last year that's continued into this year. But I think the warning signs are about making sure that the offering that we were giving to Australians and South Australians was what they wanted. The warning signs were at the last federal election, really.
And we just spoke to Tom about being bold in reform. Is there a lesson for the Liberal Party in that?
Well, I think that Australians are probably looking to the body politic more.
She's so boring, this person. She makes me want to... So boring.
Generally, in saying we do want you to be bold, we want you to be putting policies out there that are actually going to be making our lives better. I think a lot of what we've seen is, spending like drunken sailors, to be perfectly honest. And I think Australians actually want a responsible economic sort of narrative coming from their major parties, and they want us to be out there focusing on the things that matter to them. So I think, you know, whilst, sure, we have definitely worn the brunt of the response of the public tonight, unquestionably. And the Labor vote has gone down, but because of the way the nature of this, you'll get some more seats tonight.
Comment from Lee Kuan Yew, respecter, who is one of my favourite accounts. They will get at least 2 in the upper house and maybe a third on preferences. Lower house, maybe a couple of days with pre-poll.
But yeah, I think it's around, focusing on making sure that we constantly look forward, learn from the past, but we've got to look forward. But look, it's been a tough night. But as I said, and I'll keep on saying, what do they say? When the going gets tough, the tough get going, and that's what we've got to do.
On the policy issue, the first, policy that was released under an Ashton Hearn-led Liberal Party was to scrap the voice to Parliament. Was One Nation and these thoughts that One Nation could be doing so well in the polls,
Why are they so boring? Why is the mainstream media and mainstream politicians in Australia, why are they so boring? You have to have your entire personality beaten out of you to be involved. I don't understand.
Have something to do with that release of that policy? Obviously, One Nation has been throughout this campaign very strong, saying that that's one of its policies is to scrap the voice.
No, I don't think so. I think, we have always, as a Liberal Party, been very clear that we went to the nation and asked Australians if they wanted a voice to Parliament. Australians overwhelmingly said no. And quite frankly, I think our policy just reflected the will, not only of Australians, but here in South Australia, they said they didn't want a voice to Parliament. And I think it's really disrespectful to do something that is not what the public who have been...
The bloke on ABC said only educated people voted for the ALP. Yeah, so true. All non-Labor voters, we're just the scum of the earth.
Okay, Tom, let's go to you. What is your main priority?
Wasn't Labor supposed to be for the working classes?
Tomorrow, the work hasn't stopped, but when you start to form government again, what's the top priority that you're going to take?
Housing. South Australians need homes to live. We need to make sure that compact between young Australians and older Australians is maintained. That's what's causing this social breakdown with One Nation. People feeling that they can't afford that home.
Yeah, that's true. I can't afford a home, so I'm upset.
In the 1960s, it was 3 times his average wage. When I bought mine in Torrensville, it was 6 times my average wage. Now young families are looking at 12 to 13 times their average wage to buy a home in Adelaide. We need to deal with that and deal with that quickly. And successive governments, Labor and Liberal, have not done enough. We need to throw the kitchen sink at this.
No, I'm putting Labor last on my next ballot. Labor last on my next ballot.
To inspire homeowners to raise their families, that's key. And maintaining those budget surpluses. The results we're getting in metropolitan Adelaide tonight...
Yeah, isn't it funny? They mentioned the fact that nobody can buy a home in Australia, and yet they want to keep on surging immigration. It's just a joke. Like, how can you not see there's a correlation between surging demand and this restriction of supply that we have? It's just ridiculous.
Re-elected at the last election. And I think financial management is very, very important for our state. We have to manage that.
Just on debt, though,
PP
part of the
for
reason why the debt is lower is because you've also
It's about
reprofiled
60%,
some of the major
which is about
infrastructure
what the polls have been
projects
saying.
that the state is undertaking as well, Treasurer.
Well, there's some reprofiling, but also some
Pretty significant amount of reprofiling.
Sure, and larger revenues. I mean, the economy is booming. South Australia's economy is growing faster than the rest of the nation. Our economy grew by 5% this year. The rest of the country...
Save $600 a week for 5 years, you can afford a house. It ain't hard. Wow, that's very easy. That's easier said than done, mate.
It's going to hit nearly $50 billion at the end of the Ford estimates.
You literally have to be a millionaire in Australia now to buy a house. So someone like me is cut out from the system, so we're upset and we're turning towards populists.
The debt that our taxes will have to pay down will be $37 billion, not 50. I mean, SA Water will pay its own debt through its customers. Renewal SA will pay its own debt through its customers. Homestart Bank will pay its debt down from its customers. This is not something the taxpayer has to pay. $37 billion in a state budget of 22...
figure, though.
Sure, but that's not debt that we're paying for through our taxes. Let's be clear about this. General government debt is a debt we pay for through our taxes. The entire net debt is not...
Drew, all you need to do is save a year of Twitter payouts and you have a down payment. You literally... Bro, I don't think you understand, like, in Australia, the median house is 12 times the median income. Minimum. Like, you need to basically save $200,000 if you want to get a deposit. And then you'll get a deposit on a place where the mortgage will be like $4,000 or $5,000 a month.
I am comfortable with it, and I think we can manage it.
To what extent, though, did debt play on your mind as you were developing your policy?
There's only 22 upper house seats in South Australia, so only 11 are up tonight. So 3 out of 11 is material. The other big thing is the election funding that will flow from this. South Australia has very strict election donation limits, so the funding from past elections is crucial for future success. Very interesting, actually, very interesting.
Bold, big infrastructure projects announced by the Labor Party in the lead up to this election. Was that because of the...
Bro, easy money. I don't think you understand, like, housing in America is significantly cheaper than housing in Australia. Significantly. In my city of Brisbane, we're talking like the average median price of a house is 13 times the median wage. So what? You like save for 13 years on a median income, and that if you're just smack bang in the middle, you have to save for basically 13 years if you want to get a down payment.
We put forward, we thought, a modest program to continue...
Yes, it's true, by Polly. We are the first generation to experience a deterioration in our standards of living. We will be worse off than our parents. We will be worse off than our grandparents.
And I think one of the reasons tonight...
So that is why I am upset. That's why I am personally looking towards populist options, because I'm sick of being completely cut out of the Australian economy and completely cut out of the Australian nation. Just there's no country for young men. There's no country for young men like Australia. In Australia, there's no country for young men.
Black, held by Labor's Alex Dighton, of course, picked up at that by-election midterm.
Yeah, an extraordinary swing in that by-election midterm and a further extraordinary...
The help to buy stuff is so stupid because it's just another demand subsidy. So you're just subsidising further demand. It just doesn't solve the actual problem. It's like digging deeper. It's so stupid. Start up an NDIS service. You'll have 4 homes by the end of the year. We'll look into that, mate. We'll look into that.
Teens, and then the Liberals on 8.4. I'll just show you the change in vote because, again, this pattern, big blue box going down, and this one is a very big one.
Tiddlywink says, calling it now, 2027 housing crash correction. I don't know about that. I don't know about that because the government basically will continue having... The government will just continue propping up infinity migration to stop the housing market from collapsing.
Massive shift in vote there, but it's all on the right side of politics and the sort of independent. Alex Dighton will retain that seat.
Okay.
Also, I agree. I actually agree with some of the lefties on when it comes to investment properties. No more tax breaks for investment properties when people are homeless, when people can't even buy their own house. We have to change some of these tax settings. It is actually a disaster. If you can't ensure that young people have a house, you will not have a nation. Young people will not start families. Young people will not have children. And so you stop having a nation. The nation actually disintegrates. Every single Conservative should say that the priority is getting young families into their first homes, not allowing people to get their 50th investment property. The priority has to be getting young families into homes, not investment properties.
Also down, One Nation up, but we're expecting. Well, let's see whether.
Yes, listen to this comment. I want the international observers. We've got some people who are not Australian in the chat. Listen to this. In Australia, if you earn 120,000 Australian, that's, first of all, that's 90,000 USD because our currency is very weak. 40,000, 1/3 of that's going to go to income tax. Then you pay 10% GST on everything. Utilities are $300 to $400 a month. You're paying $3 a litre for fuel. Rent mortgage is a few thousand a month. Before you know it, you have zero left. I'm paying $3,500 a month on my rent. $3,500 a month. And if I wanted to save up to get a mortgage, I have to save up like $150,000 to $200,000, which is very difficult. That's years and years of saving. And even then, you get this mortgage, and then you're going to be paying probably $4,000 a month to service the median mortgage. Just not even we're not talking a mansion here. We're talking the average house. If you just buy the right in the middle of the pack, the average house, and we're talking like, man, we're talking $4,000 a month mortgage. So it's actually cheaper for me to rent, which is crazy. I remember when I was a kid, you'd hear people go, always look to get a house, always look to get a house because rent is dead money. If you're renting, it's dead money. But man, it's actually cheaper to rent now. It's so bad with the mortgages that it's actually cheaper to rent. Like if I wanted to, this place that I'm living in now, if I were to buy it on the open market, the mortgage would be like double what I'm paying in rent. The mortgage would be like almost $7,000, $8,000 a month. And it's not even this luxury place. It's like a literal smack bang normal average house. And the mortgage would be about like $7,000, $8,000 a month probably, because I would only be able to get like, I'd only be able to save up like 5% of the asking price because the asking price would be easily more than $1 million. When 10 years ago, this exact house would be worth $500,000. So this is the thing, listen to this, right? The house that I'm living in Australia, 10 years ago in Australia, it would have been, are we back? Hang on. My webcam froze. Hey guys, I'm sorry, we're back. Sorry about that. My webcam froze. Yeah, so when I was growing up, my parents would always say to me, Drew, always make sure you save for a house, save for a house. Renting is dead money. And like, oh my God, man, it's so hard because like if I bought a place, the mortgage would be double or triple what I'm currently paying in rent. I could buy this exact house that I'm living in, that I'm renting, and the mortgage would be double the rent that I'm paying. And this house that I'm living in, about 5 years ago, it would have probably been worth about $500,000. It's now probably worth 1.2, 1.3 million, I think, according to the real estate agent. And bro, it's the same house. It's the same house. Like there's nothing special about it. There's no pool. It's not a double-story house. It's not this luxury house. It's a normal house. 5 years ago, it would have been worth 500K. It's now worth 1.2 million or 1.3 million. So if I wanted to get a mortgage on this place, if I were to be able to save up enough to buy it, the mortgage would be $7,000, $8,000 a month, double what I'm paying in rent. It's just impossible. It's literally impossible. This is the pressure that young people have. And then you ask, why are people going to One Nation? Why are people going to Pauline Hanson? That's why. Man, I can't ever get a house. I can literally never ever get a house. I'm not endorsing her, by the way. I'm just saying this is why people are going to the populist right. Because they can see you've got massive levels of immigration coming in. Massive levels, historic levels of immigration. We're taking in hundreds of thousands of people a year. When there's a massive housing shortage, we're not building enough homes to house people. You've got stories where there are international students living 10 people to a room. Like, people are living on top of each other like bunk beds. Like, international students are living 10 people to a room. We do not even have enough housing to take in the people that we're bringing in. So people ask, why are people going to One Nation? And I'm not endorsing it, but I'm just explaining that's why it's happening. People can't even buy it. People can never get a home. Young people can never get a home because of the policies that the government has put in place. And tax is so much in this country, 40%. Let me tell you this, guys. I make like, what, $6,000 a month from Twitter ad revenue. I'm putting aside almost 40% of that into a tax savings account. And then another 10% goes towards GST. I lose half of it straight away. And then my rent is $3,500 a month. So I can barely live. No one can save anything. And if I want to get a house, You have to save for 10 years to get an average house. It's impossible. How can somebody like me start a family? It's impossible. No one can start a family. And it's because the government is bringing in hundreds of thousands of people every single year that we cannot even house. People are living 10 to a house. People are living 10 to a dorm. People are living in bunk beds. Yeah, this is the thing. Australia builds more houses per capita than almost every single other developed world country. The OECD is like a group of the most developed countries in the world, the most developed economies. We are second on that list of all OECD countries. We are second for house construction. So we build more houses per capita than almost anyone else, and yet we do not have enough. We do not have enough housing. It's a demand problem. People are living in tent cities in Australia. People living in tent cities. Guys, I'll tell you what it's like in Australia. I put aside 40% of my income towards tax. Another 10% goes towards GST. Automatically, you're losing half. Automatically, you're losing half. And then when you want to get an average rental, you're paying like $3,000 a month. If you're living in a city like Brisbane, a major city, 80% of the Australian population lives in like 5 cities, okay? So if you're trying to get a house in one of these 5 major cities, which is the majority of the population, you're paying like $3,000 a month. And so half my income goes to tax and GST, and then you're left with nothing, and then rent's like fucking $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month to get an average house, to live in. Banks used to lend two-thirds of their money to people to start and fund business. Now it's 2/3 for residential housing. Same goes for entrepreneurship. Young people that would have otherwise started a business just speculate on property, completely unproductive. What a sinkhole. What an absolute sinkhole. Dude, I would love to be able to borrow money from the bank to start a media company. I would love to do that. It's impossible. You can only get money from the bank if you want to invest it into a fucking shitbox. If you want to invest it into a fucking shitbox. Like just a shitbox built by some developer to house like international students like cattle. That's the only way you can get money from a bank in Australia. You can't start a business. Lee Kuan Yew report respecter.
Again, this is a safe Labor seat on the traditional...
What you're saying is dead true, mate. Good on you for having the balls to say it. Thank you, man. I'm sorry, guys. My stream seems to be going in and out every 20 minutes or something.
James Agnes on 38.3.
Move to Western Australia and build your own house like a Wog Chad Drew based.
Do a bit of an estimation of what we think...
You know what's actually so frustrating and anger-inducing? Like, people told me, oh, Drew's only gone to the right because he's a grifter, because he's trying to make money. No, I've gone to the right because I can see the reality in front of my eyes that it's impossible for me to get a house and start a family because of the policies of the Australian government in bringing infinity migrants to my country. I can see the reality in front of my face. 40% of my income goes to tax. Another 10% goes to GST. Half my income's gone straight away. Then with the rest of my income, I'm spending an extortionate amount to pay for rent. And I have to pay for the rent. There's no other options. There's no other options.
So we'll see. It's still early days, but...
I'm living, like, here's the bullshit, right? The house that I'm renting in Brisbane, 5 years ago, you could have rented it for $500. It's now renting for $1,000. That's why it's bullshit. What materially changed in 5 years to make that rent double? Nothing materially changed other than the fact that we decided to bring in infinity migrants to the country and explode demand. When I wanted to try look for a place for a rental, I was literally going up against 200 people per rental property. I had to apply for 70 different places to get a rental, guys. To get a rental in Australia, I had to apply for 70 different places before I could get one. And I would go to these open home inspections, and it was extraordinary. There would be 200 people at the inspection. It would be a line around the block to look at a rental property. Do you understand how frustrating and soul maddening that is? I wish that I could be normal. I wish we could all have a normal life. I wish that I could use the money that I earn. I actually am a net taxpayer. I'm making money in the economy. I wish I could use that money to buy my own place and then start a family. That's what I would do, like a normal person, like what my parents did, what my grandparents did. But no, it's impossible. The house that I'm renting right now, 5 years ago, it would have rented for $500. It now rents for $1,000. 5 years ago, you could have bought the house for $500,000. It now sells for $1.2 million. Like, dude, they're going to make this country a failed state. They're literally going to make this country a failed state. 100%, they're going to make the country a failed state. You cannot get clearer than this. Just my own personal experience. The house that I'm renting here, 5 years ago, you could rent it for $500. It's now renting for $1,000. 5 years ago, you could have bought it for $500,000 on a deposit of $50,000. Now, the house sells for 1.2 million or 1.3 million, and the deposit's going to be 150,000. So everything has gone up double. Everything's doubled in 5 years. 5 years. And the only reason that's taken place is because we've exploded demand in this country by bringing in like hundreds of thousands. Since COVID ended, we've brought in more than 10% of the Australian population. Like, that's extra. Do people understand how extraordinary that is? Since 2022, more than 10% of the population of Australia has arrived. So 10% of the population of Australia living in this country right now only arrived in the past 4 years. 10%, we added 10% to the country in 4 years. And then people wonder, how is there a housing crisis? Well, we added 10% of the population to the country. 10% of the Australian population arrived within the last 5 years. And in that time, the house that I'm living in went from basically being worth $500,000 to $1.2 million, and the rent on this place went from $500 a week to $1,000 a week. At the same time that we added 10% to the national population. So it's just self-imposed. It's just fucking retarded. It's self-imposed, and the reason they do it is there is no productivity in the Australian economy. You cannot build, there's no growth in the Australian economy. So the only way that they keep the country running is by adding more people to the country every year. And so the GDP in aggregate terms expands, but per capita, it's going backwards. So it's just like an accounting trick, dude. It's just an accounting trick. Like, you say that the economy grows because we added more people to the economy, but there's no productivity there. There's no productivity gains. There's no new businesses. There's no technological development. We're not making more from less. It's just pain. It's just fucking pain.
When you want it to, and sometimes the crop that you're growing doesn't produce the goods. But that doesn't mean you walk off the land. You stay and you fight another day because you love what you do. I would like to sincerely thank all of our volunteers to have the privilege of getting out to so many pre-polls across South Australia, to join so many of you on election day today, and to see you all really digging in deep. And
Treasurer said yesterday they are raising immigration by another 300,000 this year. Like, it's crazy, man.
Really a pleasure to see. So thank you so much to all of.
A great comment by Lee Kuan Yew respected here. If Drew wanted to grift, it's way more lucrative to grift from the left. He could have started a climate NGO, got grants from the government, grants from Sunrise Project, paid himself $200,000 a year as a director. Just show up at conferences and do little Mike explainer videos and then leverage that to sell solar or batteries or whatever. Or I could have started a fucking NDIS business. Like, it's so easy. You could have done it from the left easily. I could have made millions of dollars from the left, okay? Matt Barry's speech on the situation is like the #1 best speech I've ever seen. On Australian politics, Matt Barry 100% diagnosed it perfectly.
and you have believed in the cause. You have knocked on thousands of doors. You have stood at...
Hey, Max, no, retard. No, as long as you vote Conservative, warmongering, neoliberals, you're voting against your interests. No, retard. The Labor Party is against my interests. The Labor Party is against my interests because they've added 10% to the population of Australia in 4 years through their mass migration policies. And as a result, the rent on my place went from 500 to 1,000, and the property went from worth 500,000 to 1.2 million. So no, the Labor Party is against my interests because their policies directly make it impossible for me to ever have my own home, which makes it impossible for me to ever start my own family. So no, my interests are completely counter opposed to the Labor Party's interests, okay? We're not retarded, okay? We can see through your fucking bullshit spin. Oh, the Liberal Party is the party of the billionaires. I don't give a fuck, dude. At this point, the Labor Party, through their mass migration policy, which has added 10% of the population of Australia in 4 years, they have doubled my rent. They have doubled or tripled the down payment required to get a mortgage on a place. Okay? The Labor Party's policies doubled my rent. The Labor Party's policies made a down payment on a home like 3 times harder for me to do. That's the Labor Party's policies. And, oh, wow, Gina Rinehart's the real problem, dude. Gina Rinehart's the real problem. At least Gina Rinehart has a fucking business that's productive. If we didn't have mining in this country, if we didn't have Gina Rinehart, what would the economy be? Fucking hell, just 50 million fake NDIS scam businesses. Like, seriously, guys, seriously. I know it's fun to shit on Gina Rinehart and stuff like that, but if you didn't have, like, I don't know, like Rio Tinto and Gina Rinehart and some of these mining companies, which seem to be the only productive sector of the entire economy. If we didn't have that, what would the Australian economy be? Just literal NDIS scams. Is that the Australian economy? Like NDIS scams and international student fraud? Like that's the Australian economy you want? Wow, Gina Rinehart, she's a billionaire and she's got a fucking private jet. She's not on your side, dude. No, actually, she's on my side because her policies would reduce my rent, would cut my rent in half. Her policies would make it 3 times easier for me to get a down payment on a house. Just simply by ending mass migration, you would halve my rent and you would make it 3 times easier for me to get a down payment on a house. Oh, Gina Rinehart has a debt. Oh, Gina Rinehart has a jet, bro, and she's a billionaire, bro. Wow. Therefore, she's against your interests. Bro, like, are you fucking retarded? Like, if Gina Rinehart didn't exist, if we didn't have a couple mining companies in this country, what would our economy be? Just fucking NDIS fraud. Like, what would it be? It would just be like international student scams. Like I don't really like the mining industry that much, but holy shit, if we didn't have a mining industry, we'd literally be a third world country. Like at this point, that's the fucking reality. That's the fucking reality at this point. If we did not have a mining industry, we would be a third world country. What would our economy be? Just NDIS scams and fucking international student fraud and just, I don't know, like government jobs. It's collapsing. The Australian economy is collapsing. Australia is heading towards failed state territory. And, oh, wow, bro, the conservative warmongering liberals are against your interests. No, my interests are against the Labor Party because the Labor Party's policies have actually doubled my rent and made it 3 times harder for me to get a down payment on a house, okay? I'm not fucking retarded. I can actually observe the reality of the world around me, and I can observe that you've added 10% of the population to this country in 4 years, and that's going to increase demand for housing at a time when there's a housing shortage. And we actually have the second highest house construction rate in the OECD, the Club of Developed Economies. We have the second highest rate. We build a lot of homes in this country. It's not enough. It's not enough because we've decided to add 10% of the population to this country in fucking 4 years.
Keep working hard.
I just want to say, I have to say this. I really have to say this at this point. I love this like bullshit you get from like punters politics and like friendly Geordies and all these left-wing content creators. Oh, Gina Rinehart's the big boogeyman. Like, she's probably the only one paying tax in Australia at this point. At this point, that's fucking true. Seriously, what is the alternative for the economy? The alternative for the economy is just like 100 million fake NDIS shops. It's a fucking joke. The economy is a fucking disgrace in Australia.
Thank you.
Okay, that is the opposition leader Ashton Hearn, who announced that she called told the Premier, Peter Malinauskas, to concede defeat this evening. She congratulated him as she talked about continuing on as leader, continuing the fight.
Australia has lots of productive companies like Atlassian. Atlassian's share price is down 80% this year. They're getting smashed by AI. Their company was just making like software to monitor workers. Like, it's not that incredible, guys. Like, it's like the one tech company we have and their technology isn't even that great.
Treasurer Ben Hood there hugging Ashton Hearn. As I talk to you right now, I saw a Shadow Health spokesperson Heidi Geelong.
Hey guys, instead of like digging up iron ore and exporting gas and exporting oil, how about we make the Australian economy just like a row of like 50 Turkish barbershops and like 50 kebab shops and just like 50 NDIS scam shops on the same street? That's a good idea, I reckon. Instead of having the mining industry, let's talk about making the average Australian high street just like kebab shop, kebab shop, kebab shop, NDIS scam shop, NDIS scam shop, NDIS scam shop that's closed, Centrelink, and then a Turkish barbershop. How about we do that? I think that would be a great economy. Let's have the average Australian high street just kebab shop, kebab shop, kebab shop, vape shop, vape shop, vape shop, Centrelink, fake international student accommodation, fake NDIS shop that's closed, a tobacco shop. Don't forget a tobacco shop that's owned by a Middle Eastern crime gang that's money laundering through the Middle East. That would be great for the economy too. Oh, and don't forget Uber drivers. Thank you. I've got to shout out my chat here. They're killing it. Don't forget the Uber drivers. You're right. Don't forget the Uber drivers. It's very important.
The same levels of commitments and how they be feeling.
I think we've cracked the code, guys. Okay, how about we tax Gina Reinhardt to oblivion? Let's just like close her business down. Let's do expropriations of wealth. So we'll steal all the money of the billionaires, and then let's redistribute it to fake NDIS shops, kebab shops, Turkish barber shops, just like scam shops, like just scam NDIS fraud fronts. Let's do that, please. Yeah, cash converters. Cash converters would be based. Maybe I'm forgetting here. We need to have a lot of fake tobacco shops on the same street. We need to have like about 4 or 5. Let's hopefully have them owned by Middle Eastern crime gangs that are just money laundering through the Middle East. Let's have kebab shops. Let's have halal snack pack. Let's have the vape shops. And let's have like 5 NDIS businesses right next to each other and they're all shut at the same time. I think that's actually, massage shop. Thank you guys to the chat. Don't forget massage shops. They are really important. Like a rug and a tub shop. And I just had the great idea. The massage shop, they can be doing sex work for the NDIS. Okay, so let's do this. Let's shut down all advanced manufacturing in the country. Let's not produce any cars. Let's not refine any fuel. Let's shut down all mining because mining's bad. And then let's just have kebab shop, NDIS shop, fraud shop, tobacco, like black market tobacco shop. Let's all on the same street.
What I want to do, I want to show you something that's just struck us.
And then we'll have a rug and tub shop. We'll have a fucking massage parlor where they'll wank you off, and we'll charge that to the NDIS. That could be the Australian economy instead of Gina Reinhardt, because we don't like billionaires. We're going to just steal all the money from the billionaires and let's redistribute it towards people who just arrived in the country 2 years ago, because they're actually on the same side of me because they're not billionaires. Remember what the left always says, guys. The left always says that you actually have more in common with random Afghan goat herders and random foreign migrants who just arrived yesterday. You have more in common with them than Gina Reinhardt and billionaires. That's what the left say to us. So let's steal the wealth from all the productive people in Australia, the people who actually have built up the economy. Let's steal it from them, just take it from them. And then let's redistribute it to people who just arrived in the country yesterday and don't speak English and don't have anything in common with us, no cultural values common to us. Just redistribute it towards them, because we have to actually apologize for being, part of white genocide and, the genocide of all the indigenous people of the world. And we have to apologize for the crime of having been born white, and we have to apologize for slavery as well. So how about we steal all the money from the productive people in the economy who have built businesses and actually have advanced the economy, and we will redistribute it towards just kebab shops and just fake NDI scam fronts and just black market tobacco shops that are run by Middle Eastern crime gangs that are money laundering through the Middle East. That's what we're going to do for the Australian economy. I think that's actually a really good vision for the economy. Wait, aren't you an immigrant? No, I'm a fourth generation Australian. My great-grandfather came to Australia in 1950. That's more than 76 years ago. So I'm fully Australian, sorry. I'm more Australian than somebody who arrived yesterday. That's just a fact. It's just literally a fact. I'm sorry.
That is a real shift in what we're seeing, and that would be some concern, not just for the Liberal Party, but I would suggest is also of some concern to Labor.
But is it also potentially a concern interstate as well, Casey?
The feel when you're describing the average Australian high street without even exaggerating. Yeah, that's the average Australian high street. It's just kebab shop, NDIS shop, Centrelink, welfare, tobacco shop. That's just like run by a gang. That's literally like the Australian average high street now.
So many of these four-corner contests with candidates on 20, 21, 22% of the vote. We've got a
Shut up, you're giving the left ideas.
dynamics at play as well. There are clear national implications, I suspect.
Yeah, great point by Thompson. Guys, also, once we complete this whole destruction of the Australian economy by stealing wealth from everybody and then basically creating Project Zimbabwe 2.0 and doing land seizures and business sieges based on race against white people, once we finish that, how about we sell everything to the Chinese Communist Party? That's a great vision, I think.
It is a red, blue, orange, and maybe even in some places green map at the moment.
Bro lost his class consciousness. Yeah, I don't have class consciousness with people who arrived in Australia yesterday. I'm sorry, facts. Facts. If you arrived in Australia like okay, I'm recording this on March 21st. If your first day in Australia is like the 18th of March, I'm sorry, we have no class consciousness in common. My family have been in this country for almost 80 years. My loyalty is to this country. My loyalty is to the people who make it up. My loyalty is not to people who arrived yesterday to put my rent up.
Started with 13. You thought they might lose a couple in the city, but to lose that many seats in one election is remarkable.
I want to go back to Casey now. You've lined up some more seats for us to look at as well.
Yeah, we're looking at all of the the most likely.
Yes, well said by Full Circle History. I recommend you follow the economic model of South Africa. It will bring you prosperity, absolutely.
Where we think Penny Pratt's probably favoured.
And Fizz is right as well. Australian youth have been successfully brainwashed to hate their own country. That's why we have a housing crisis. Yes, because it's the Australian youth who are unfortunately voting to put up their own house prices and voting to put up their own rent by supporting mass infinity migration.
Tony Piccolo as well.
Tony Piccolo entered Parliament in 2006, if I'm not incorrect, Tom. Looking at you, has been a member of Parliament since 2006, representing the seat of Light, has been really produced some remarkable swings toward him over those years, and has constantly, routinely in elections, really faced a threat that he might be.
Guys, if you're watching my live stream, make sure to leave a like.
Tony Piccolo.
Leave a like, help me reach more people, help me build up my channel. If you've enjoyed my ranting and my arguments, leave a like. It's very important.
Was significantly altered, and a lot of people that used to live in Light now live in Nadri, so he decided to go with them, setting himself up against Penny Pratt, another sitting MP, and also taking in quite a bit of the mid-north region up to Clare in South Australia. So he's not shied away from this fight. It is a marginal Liberal seat he's trying to win, and at this stage, partly because of this disruptive influence here, he's...
If we went to war with Cyprus, whose side would you fight for, Drew? I would fight for Australia. I am Australian. Obviously, much love to Cyprus, much love to my Cypriot friends, but my family have been in Australia for 80 years. They gave my family a home. We assimilated Australia as my country.
Should be relatively safe here. He trails One Nation on the primary vote, but that is not a high enough vote that will see Jennifer Troth elected.
Gym Club, we need to make Gina Rinehart a trillionaire because the alternative is something infinite woke migration, trans art, NDIS fraud buzzword. No, dude, actually, your policy is basically to do Zimbabwe, South Africa style business seizures of random rich white people because they're productive people in the economy. You want to steal their businesses and you want to redistribute the money towards people who came to the country literally in the last 5 weeks. That's your vision for the Australian economy. I think that's a fucking psycho vision. I don't want us to become South Africa, actually. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know, does anyone actually think that's a good idea? Maybe just retarded leftists. Maybe just retarded communists who hate themselves and want to kill themselves, essentially.
Potentially Penny Pratt, but that one's still in doubt. And then a complicated mess for several other seats still.
You know, Drew, we've got to start countering the leftist narrative. There's a minimum of like 50 years of leftist subliminal messaging we need to counter. Yeah, once you break out of the conditioning, you can actually understand it, but it takes a lot to break out of the conditioning.
Sam Telfer over in Flinders, potentially.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting, and I've just been having a quick look at some of the outer metro seats that are very strongly were held very strongly by the Labor Party. We've seen some really significant shifts in the primary vote of Labor. Just looked at Light, 57% primary vote in 2022 down to 38. Taylor, 53% in 22 down to 41. We saw in Chris Picton's seat a similar, I think it was...
I agree with this guy. If anyone immigrates here, you have to fight for this country in a war, or else you have to leave if you're not loyal. 100%. If I were to say, I'd sit out of... My family are from Greek Cyprus. If I were to say, I would not back Australia if Greek Cyprus attacked, I would be betraying Australia. My loyalty is to Australia. They gave my family a home 4 generations ago, and I will fight and defend Australia.
Many of them will come back on the two-party preferred. But it's been really interesting how attacked the primary vote of both major parties have been. And interesting, as you...
Thank you, user 86C. No South African economy model. We will not allow the South African economic model to be exported to Australia because it will fucking destroy the country.
Usually have come out.
I mean, it's fair to say the Liberal Party have not preferenced the Labor Party ahead of One Nation anywhere.
I'm a moderate who simply dislikes the prospect of oligarchy. This is what Jim Cler says. Because rich hoarding all the wealth means total brain-dead communist revolution becomes more likely. But that's the problem is that you're saying, the rich are hoarding all the wealth. Like, no, if Gina Reinhardt creates a company from scratch, she's not hoarding any wealth. She created new wealth that has then been distributed through the economy, through taxation, and through also employing like tens of thousands of people. So if somebody creates a new company from scratch and then they build wealth that did not exist prior to that company existing, they're not hoarding wealth. They created new wealth, and we want people to create new wealth, because the alternative where we just have a fixed pie and we just seize land and seize businesses from each other. That's how, when you have that zero-sum mindset, that's when you destroy the economy. That's when you go down the South African and Zimbabwe route, where you just destroy a country. Like Elon Musk, for example, created Tesla. He created new wealth that did not exist previously. And all the people who own stocks in Tesla have also had new wealth come out of existence from nothing.
There was a very strong message sent to the Liberal Party, but I think you have to be fair.
Let me be clear here. Let me explain this to you. Say Drew Pavlou creates a media company, and over 20 years, I build that media company up to something that's worth $20 million. Before I made that media company, there was $0 in wealth. There was nothing. And then I made something out of nothing, $20 million. You can't then go, Drew, you're sitting on that wealth, you're hoarding it. No, the wealth didn't exist until I created the wealth. Do you understand? This is just basic stuff. This is basic economics. If I was earning $50,000 a year as a cleaner, and then I decided to go out and create a new cleaning business, and the cleaning business over, I don't know, a 20-year time period becomes $1 billion company. You created $1 billion in wealth out of nothing. There was previously zero wealth, and then you created new wealth by starting a new company. It's not a zero-sum game. We're trying to add to the pie. So when you start saying, we need to seize this business, we need to seize this land, you're just doing the South Africa-Zimbabwe route to destruction. Reinhardt didn't create a company from scratch. She literally inherited an empire from her dad, Lang Hancock. Lang Hancock created a company from nothing. There was no Hancock prospecting before he created it. And also, she also modernized the business, and she inherited a business that was basically failing, and she completely revamped its operations and developed it to make it a bigger business and a better business. That's how economic growth works. She's not hoarding wealth. She created wealth that did not previously exist. Lee Kuan Yew, Respecter, this is a great comment. The direct GDP share of primary industries can be misleadingly low. Finance is 8% of GDP. Do you think the food we grow, eat, and sell is worth 1/4 of people shuffling paper back and forth? Yes, finance is important and liquidity is important, but mining, manufacturing, and agriculture are true sources of prosperity. And all I'm saying is that we need more mining, we need more manufacturing, we need more agriculture, we need the primary industries that actually grow the pie, that actually grow the economy. Here's a fact. Here's an absolute fact by Fisk. Elon Musk has brought more benefits for humanity than George Floyd. Can a single person doubt that fact? Elon Musk created $1 trillion worth of wealth. He created $1 trillion of new wealth that previously did not exist. If it did not exist, there was no Tesla, there's no SpaceX. So he created a new business from nothing, and that new business added to the economics, added to the economy's dynamism. He revamped the economy by making these new, productive, technologically advanced businesses. No PayPal too. Oh my God, Gough Whitlam was cooed by the CIA. This is communist delusion fantasy land. Communist delusion fantasy land. The idea that Gough Whitlam was cooed by the CIA, it's literally communist brainworms.
Immigration is something that is playing on people. I think this is a lot of the culture war stuff that's going on.
Hang on, let's hear him cope about One Nation. Let's hear that.
But I don't think it's a uniform message. I think the messages are different across different areas.
Well, I'm particularly interested in the northern Adelaide area because that's obviously traditionally been Labor heartland. What is it about that particular region of metropolitan Adelaide that you see people moving towards One Nation? What are the issues that they're talking about in some of those regions?
I think immigration is something that is playing on people.
Yeah, I wonder why we've added 10% of the population in 4 years and nobody can get a house.
I think this is a lot of the culture war stuff that's going on, that's being pushed.
Culture war stuff. Culture war stuff is when you observe the lived experience that you cannot buy your own house because we've added 10% of the population in 4 years. And my rent's doubled as a result of that. And when I go for a rental inspection, I'm competing with 300 other people, most of whom arrived last month. That's apparently a culture war.
A lot of young men...
Apparently that's culture war bullshit.
A lot of the culture war stuff that's going on, that's being pushed. A lot of young men are feeling disenfranchised.
Yeah, we are disenfranchised. I'm telling you right now, as a young man, I am disenfranchised.
With the world around them. I think social media and the information people are getting. I saw this phenomenon throughout West Torrens where people were bringing pens to polling booths because they thought their votes might be changed. There's a lot of misinformation online and...
Hey, Max, I actually agree with you. I don't support Howard-type liberalism, okay? I don't support Howard-type economic liberalism. I'm not endorsing a Howard-style, like, shut down all the fuel plants, shut down all of the Australian primary industry in the name of globalization. That's not what I'm endorsing at all, okay? That's literally the counter-opposite of what I'm endorsing.
Those trusted sources...
I do not endorse, like, the Howard economic vision for Australia.
Sources of news are breaking down. I saw some research during the campaign where there is now becoming a point where a majority of new voters don't even have aerials connected to their televisions. And they're only watching streaming services. And they're getting harder and harder to get to. And some of the news outlets that they're watching aren't even Australian based. So them being aware of what's going on in Adelaide is getting very, very difficult. And if you're disenfranchised already, and then you're diving into this social media mix where you're not actually getting news from trusted sources.
Oh, okay. If only everyone watched the ABC who don't say... If only everyone watched the ABC who preach a left-wing orthodoxy position, if only everyone just watched them, there'd be no problem. That's essentially what he's saying. No, some of us can see through the propaganda, I'm sorry.
All sorts of things pop out.
Casey, you've lined up a few more seats for us to take a look at. Can we start with Ghana?
Yeah, I think I
held
might.
by Chris Picton.
Yes, what we're going to do is show you a long list of seats right now where the Liberal primary vote has crashed to single digits. It's quite a long list. These are, yes, in the southern suburbs, also in the northern suburbs, but not just there. So Ghana, Chris Picton is the MP, nearly half the vote. Shane Carter is on 6.7% of the vote, while One Nation is at 25.3%.
I think this comment is correct, Kaiden 999. We need to be inspired by the way that America, Japan, and South Korea focus on building up primary industry and advancing cutting-edge, leading-edge technology.
In Raynell, nearby, we've got Katrina.
Oh no, mainstream media can't brainwash the youth. ABC 7, 9, 10. Yeah, it's what a shame. What a shame.
Hildyard will be re-elected, has more than 40% of the vote. One Nation has replaced the Liberals, who are on 6.1%. Cheltenham, Joe Sockarch has nearly half the vote. Melissa Higgins, 20%, and Helen Pike, 8.3%. Ramsey in the southern suburbs, so Cheltenham, I should say, not an outer suburb area. This is inner Adelaide. Ramsey, Zoe Bettison, nearly half the vote, and again, similar sort of pattern, 5 versus 27.2 in that seat. In Florey, we've got Michael.
I like this comment by Mapper. Taiwan invested in making their chips the most important asset in the world, and now a tiny unrecognized island is essential to the world economy. We need to make ourselves critical to advanced technology. We need to make ourselves critical at a key choke point of the world economy. That is what Australia needs to do. We need to make ourselves right at the cutting edge of some of these leading edge technologies. You know, Australia had leading chip manufacturing Australia had leading chip manufacturers a couple decades ago, and we completely shut that down and lost it all. It's actually really sad. We easily could have been like Taiwan. Australia could have had a Taiwanese style chip making industry. We actually had that possibility. We had that potential. And because we were at the forefront of the invention of the internet, we're at the forefront of the invention of solar batteries. We were at the forefront of a lot of leading cutting edge technological development. We mined the uranium. We mine a lot of this amazing, we mine so many of these important resources that are critical inputs for these important technologies, just overall. And we could have made ourselves a leading chip maker, and that's one industry that we just completely gave up on, and there's no chance now. Yeah, Bluetooth, we were right at the forefront of the development of Bluetooth and radar. And I agree with Max Hooper. Joe Hockey and Tony Abbott shut down the car industry in Australia. And that is an absolute disaster, absolute catastrophe. They never should have done that. I 100% agree that they should not have done that.
Brown, the MP, 48% there for him.
Imagine if we invested in training Australians instead of letting industries lobby the government for a mass imported slave labour force. Universities earn big on mass immigration too. Look at the AUKUS program in South Australia. In order to work on these nuclear submarines that will be manufactured in Adelaide, you will have to be an Australian citizen, because the technology is so advanced and it is so sensitive that they're only going to allow Australian citizens to be involved in the manufacturing of this advanced technology. And so if we can build nuclear submarines in Australia, I think we can build cars. I think we can build a lot of I think we can restart manufacturing. If we could do nuclear submarines in Australia, I think we can restart manufacturing.
He'll win nearly on the first preference vote. One Nation has 21.
I don't get why the Anglosphere insists on deindustrializing and outsourcing everything. Yeah, that's our catastrophe. We've got a near monopoly on iron and uranium. Yeah. Yeah, so I have a response to Jimpler. He says, Abbott sent solar away. Instead of trying to invest in renewables, Liberals' One Nation vision for the future, just coal forever. Now, here's the thing. You need electrical power to make things. You need electrical power to make things. And so we need cheap energy in this country. If you do not have cheap energy as the crucial input into the industrial process, you will not have manufacturing. You will not be able to build anything in Australia. So we need cheap energy. We need cheap electrical power. And we can have that because Australia, surprise, surprise, sits on the largest resource reserves in the entire world. Like, we are one of a few countries, like the United States, Russia, Australia. There's a couple countries that are basically completely self-sufficient in everything. Like, America is self-sufficient in agriculture. Like, Russia is self-sufficient in agriculture. America is self-sufficient in hydrocarbons. Like, Russia is self-sufficient in hydrocarbons. Australia can be self-sufficient in agriculture, hydrocarbons, all these different energy inputs. Like, Australia can easily do that because we are sitting on some of the biggest resource reserves in the entire world. We need nuclear energy in this country. We will need coal power for the foreseeable future. Like, I'm sorry to our Greens friends, you can't just shut down these coal power plants and not replace them with anything. China doesn't do that. China keeps on using these coal-fired power plants to build up, China uses their coal-fired power plants to then build up industry that will then be able to go renewable eventually. We need nuclear power plants. We need to have, like, you know what I would do? If I was the Prime Minister, I would build up 100 nuclear reactors across Australia, like the French Mesmer plan. And I would essentially build up a massive Australian nuclear energy capacity. And then we would have the cheapest energy in the entire world. And with the amazing ingenuity of the Australian people, the fact that Australians were at the forefront of the development of solar technology, Bluetooth, the internet, all these amazing technologies, Australians helped invent it. We've got really smart people in this country. If we have extremely cheap electricity, if we have extremely cheap energy, we can build up anything. We can build up the most powerful manufacturing centers in the world. We can build up, and it doesn't have to be toasters. We don't have to be building toasters and low-skilled manufacturing. We can be doing high-skilled manufacturing. We can be doing high-skilled manufacturing right at the top of the supply chain, right at the top of the value-added chain. That's what we should be doing. We should basically have, like, let's just be realistic here. Let's be realistic here. Australia, like, not a single Australian should have to pay for energy bills. We should just basically have free power. And we have that capacity because we have we sit on, like, literally the largest resource reserves in the entire world. Gas, coal, we have the largest uranium deposits in the world. We have oil as well. We also have abundant solar and wind. That can be part of the process as well. We have just amazing capacity here where we can just have complete energy abundance. And realistically, not a single Australian should have to pay a single power bill. Like we can get to that future where energy is so abundant in Australia that it's basically free. And at that point, we can be a leading world manufacturing hub. 30% of the world's lithium as well. We should be making batteries. We should be at the forefront of making battery technology. We sit on 30% of the world's lithium. This is another great comment by Lee Kuan Yew respecter. AI makes intelligence a commodity. It won't be gated by institutions or IP. Our ability to create prosperity and defend ourselves will entirely depend on compute. So that means data centers, water, and energy. It will be required for cyber defense. And to have these data centers, you need cheap power. And how do you get cheap power? Well, we're sitting on the largest resource reserves in the entire world. We actually, this is something that's retarded that Australia does. We export like 90% of our coal. We dig up so much coal in this country and then we just export it to China to burn. Like that actually, like, please guys, think about this for a second, right? Like, if Australia burnt the coal, it would lead to less emissions. It would literally lead to less emissions in the long run. So we are exporting so much coal and so much gas. We are responsible for so many emissions, but they're just emissions in other countries. So we just export it to other countries so that they can have manufacturing, so that they can have primary industries, while we insist on degrowth, while we insist on deindustrializing, and then just transform the Australian economy into just this giant fraud shop of just like fake international student schemes, fake NDIS schemes, like black market tobacco shops, vape shops, kebab shops. Australia locked into a 25-year fixed price LNG contract with China in 2002. How retarded can we be, man? How retarded can we be sometimes? Like, how stupid is that, man? We locked into a 25-year fixed price LNG contract with China in 2002, and then they use that gas to power their primary industry while we deindustrialize. That's fucking stupid. Great point by Max. We don't even make our own fertilizer anymore. We have Phosphate Hill in Mount Isa. LNG is a feedstock and we don't have any secured domestic supply. Why would we not make fertilizer in this country when we have, again, the largest resource reserves in the entire world? And yes, I agree with Max Hooper. Again, yes, it was John Howard and Peter Costello. Guess what? I don't agree with their economic policy. I don't agree with their economic strategy. I don't agree with their end of history capitalist globalization policy. I believe in capitalism, but I also believe in state capitalism where it's necessary. We need state-directed investment to build up primary industry in Australia, and we need state-directed investment on a massive scale to build up 50 to 100 nuclear reactors. Imagine if you just took the hundreds of billions of dollars that are being burnt and incinerated every year by the Australian government towards these fraud schemes, and you just redirected it towards creating 15 nuclear power plants, like the French did when they wanted to decarbonize their grids. Guess what? The French decarbonized their grids. They went net zero. And how do they do it? Through nuclear. Yeah, data centers are the thing, and you're going to need nuclear to run it, 100%. We supply 56% of the world's iron ore requirements. It's amazing. So Australia just has this amazing, we have been gifted by God. We literally have the luckiest country in terms of resource endowment in the entire world. And yet we decide to transform our country into like a giant fraud harvesting facility for remittances. Can you guys think about how retarded this is for a second? We have the world's largest uranium deposits. We have the second largest gas reserves in the world, largest iron ore reserves in the world, largest lithium reserves in the world. We've got massive oil deposits. We're sitting on the largest resources. We're sitting on the largest resources endowment in the entire world. And yet the only way that the Australian government can work out a way to grow the economy is by adding people to the country through international student fraud and NDIS fraud. Can you understand how retarded it is to have the largest resource reserves in the entire world, to be completely self-sufficient in agriculture and in energy, and yet the only way that you can build up the economy is through adding to the total population size in the aggregate? Because you can't actually, because you've basically committed to a path of deindustrialization and degrowth. How stupid can that be? Australia exports so much of what the world needs, but then we dilute the income from that by importing infinity migrants. Yes, 100%. 100%. We have as much gas as Qatar, and yet people, Qatari citizens live like kings, whereas the average Australian cannot even dream of affording their own home one day. What a stupid and retarded way to run your own country. At least Qatar runs it for their own citizens. If you asked Qatar, if you went to the Qatari Emir and you were like, hey, is Qatar for the citizens of Qatar? Or is Qatar for the guest workers that you bring in every year? They would look at you and say, are you fucking retarded? Or Qatar is for Qatari citizens. Okay? So they have all this gas and they use that for their own citizens. And yet we have the largest resource endowment in the world, and we use that to give basically welfare payments to migrants from broken countries who then send the money back home in the form of remittances. What a retarded system. We export our gas to be refined and then buy it back. What a fucking stupid country. Australia's like the reverse of a min-max build, 100 points in skull bumping. UAE is so rich from oil, it pays its citizens enough to set them up for life, free education, houses, salary top-ups, free utilities, even funding for marriages. Yeah, and we can't do that because instead, the money that we make from gas and oil and gold and lithium and all these mining resources, that has to be redirected towards welfare payments for people who arrived just moments ago, months ago.
The Liberal Party has 8.6.
Will he forget the Labor lion?
Yes, he should.
Oh yeah, and also the UAE also has zero income tax. Zero income tax.
Focus on Annabelle tonight.
Okay, so there you can see in Kai Ma, the Deputy Premier there, speaking to the crowd. Let's take you to him right now.
People who work at Bedford Industries, what a Labor government can do.
Drew is the only person in the country who is speaking about these issues in a clear manner. He talks about the stuff other people don't. It's refreshing. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Welcome to Drew Pavlik Thought. In this, you know what's interesting, guys? In this live stream tonight, I've actually expounded my entire worldview, my entire vision for the future of Australian politics, my entire vision for the future of the Australian economy and the Australian nation. You know what I want Australia to do? I want the Australian government to look at how the UAE government or the Qatari government run their countries for the benefits of their own citizens. And then we can say, hey, let's do what they do. Let's run the country for the benefit of citizens.
Ask Aboriginal elders whose voices are now being heard through the First Nation voice to Parliament.
Oh my God. Is that what they're arguing about? Is that, like, that's their vision? Holy shit. This is their vision.
Okay, so there you can see in Kai Ma, the Deputy Premier there, speaking to the crowd. Let's take
Hyper Australia. We want Hyper Australia.
you to him right now.
People who work at Bedford Industries what a Labor government can do. Ask Aboriginal elders whose voices are now being heard through the First Nation voice to Parliament.
Yeah, like I can't ever get my own house. My rent's gone up. My rent's gone up 100% in over the past couple of years because of mass migration. But look, the Aboriginal elders have been recognised by the Labor Party HQ. That's beautiful. Thank you. It's so funny. They accuse us of culture war bullshit, and yet they love to push culture wars constantly. The first thing they do when they win this big election, the first thing they say is, we're doing this for the Aboriginal elders. Well, what about the citizens of the country? How about you do things for the citizens of the country, not just like 0.1% of the population? Like, what percentage of the population is made up of what? Like, okay, how Aboriginal elders? What percentage of the total Australian population are Aboriginal elders? Like spiritual leaders in the Aboriginal community? Like what? 20,000 people in the entire country, maybe? So you're governing for the spiritual leaders of the elder, like I just don't get it. Like, can we have the country run for the benefit of the entire citizenry, rather than just, I don't know, like 50 random people that you found? I don't know.
South Australia is a different place to what it was 4 years ago. People do not make jokes about South Australia.
No, here's the thing that they don't understand, Emiratis and Qataris. The guest workers there, they get way better salaries than they would get in their home country, so they're happy. Secondly, they don't get given citizenship, and therefore the countries of therefore Qatar and the UAE, the primary economic benefit, the primary political benefit to the presence of guest workers in their country flows to the citizenry, and that's how it should be. Migrants who come to a country to work, the benefit should be flowing to the citizenry.
Anymore. We are the envy of the nation. How others see us has changed. And that also changes, I think, how we see ourselves. And that's because of a Labor government, this Labor government, a Malinowskis Labor government. I've known Mally for, I think, 20 years or so now. He recently said that we agree 99% of the time, and for a Premier to be wrong 1 in 100 times is remarkable. I am proud to call him a friend. He's a father of 4. He's a weekend gardener. He's a pretty ordinary...
Lol, look how like racist lefties get when you challenge their orthodoxy. You don't look very Australian to me. Where are you from, bro? Well, I'm actually a 4th generation Australian going back to the 1950s. I'm very happy to be an Australian, and it's just hilarious the way that these commies melt down with their whole, oh, you'll never be a true Australian. They would never say that to a migrant who arrived 2 days ago. They would never say that, but they only say that to me because I dare to challenge left-wing orthodoxy.
Football player, and he's the continuing Premier of South Australia.
Yeah, so here he is, Peter Malinowskis, making his way through the crowd, as you'd expect, being greeted with open arms. There's Jen Roberts, the incoming member for Hartley, there at the front of the stage, waiting to see more selfies. and embrace with Kayama.
And the Premier is about to make his way to the podium for his speech. If he can make his voice heard over the crowd, we will take you to that right now and hear what he has to say.
Friends, I am somewhat humbled to be standing here tonight on the lands of the Kaurna people, and I feel...
No culture wars his, guys. The first thing he says upon his massive landslide re-election is to say that the land of Australia is actually rightfully the land of another group of people. It's not the legitimate country of Australia. The country of Australia is this illegitimate entity that's kind of just squatting on Aboriginal land. That's the first thing he says upon achieving his landslide electoral victory. And then they say that we're culture warriors. But the first thing that he says, the first thing he does when he wins this landslide victory, the first words out of his mouth are there to delegitimize the Australian nation and the Australian national project.
It's entirely appropriate to pay my respects as Premier of the state to the longest living culture that human history has ever known.
The first thing that he does upon winning this landslide victory is to say that Australia is stolen land. And then they say that we're culture warriors. Like they cannot even... The first thing they do upon winning like this landslide victory is to say the country should never have existed in the first place.
More than anything else, tonight I'm overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude. A gratitude to so many people who have provided this government the opportunity to be able to continue to serve, to be able to continue our work of making sure that the momentum in South Australia delivers for the people who deserves it most, and those are the people of South Australia. Earlier this evening, I received a couple of phone calls, and I do want to take this opportunity to first and foremost pass on my thanks to Ashton Hearn for the gracious way she conceded defeat. I give Ashton great credit for her poise and commitment throughout the course of the campaign, and I wish her every success in whatever undertaking she takes into the future. Similarly, I also received a phone call from Cory Bernardi, and One Nation.
Look at how they mock 30% of the voters of the public.
Similarly, I also received a phone call from Cory Bernardi, and
look at this, man. Look at this. Like they can't even help but communicate their contempt for about 1/3 of the public. About almost 20 to 30% of the public are sympathetic to that party. The first thing they do is spit on them. Even though like a huge section of the working classes is sympathetic to that party. So there you have it, like the arrogance. They think because they won these victories that they will be in power forever.
And One Nation, Cory Bernardi and One Nation also deserve recognition, not just for the way they went about going out of their way to contact me this evening, but also for getting a very significant result at the ballot box, which does deserve recognition and credit. And I say to both Ashton and Cory Bernardi, along with leaders of other political parties elected to the Parliament tonight, that my government stands ready to work with each and every one of you for as long as it is in the interests of South Australia.
I think Polly is correct that this is the first non-major party to ever make a concessional call.
But let me assure you, it is in no way lost on me as I stand.
A radical 30% minority. Yeah, radical, Ben. Radical. Like, the Labor Party primary in Adelaide, in South Australia, went backwards. And no, you don't have to glaze. They're not radical. It's 30% of the country.
Before this rather full room. That, without doubt, I am fortunate enough to be able to lead one of the most disciplined united political parties in the history of our federation. So I would like to thank all of the women and men in South Australian Labor, the candidates, the volunteers and the mighty trade union movement. The coordination of such a outfit and organisation is an immense task. So tonight I want to give a particular shout out to our campaign director. I first met him as a rather shy and quiet boy from Port Victoria, until he got a few Bundys under his belt. And let me tell you something, you can take the boy out of Port Victoria, but you can't take the Yorke Peninsula out of the boy. And he has shown all of that grit and determination throughout the course of the campaign to steer it home. Eamon Burke. Well done, Burke Mo. Yeah. To my staff, working in any office in a political environment is robust. It's tough. It's long hours, as all of our MPs and ministers will attest to. But that's particularly true in the Premier's office. I've got an incredible team, ably led by, without doubt, the hardest worker I have ever come across. And I can't thank John Bistrovic and the team within the Premier's office enough. For my parliamentary and cabinet colleagues who chose to put their faith in me almost 8 years ago to the day, when we were in opposition, that was a big decision, and it has never been lost on me how grateful I am for the enduring support, the absolute loyalty and dedication that you have provided my leadership so we can focus on the task at hand. To each and every one of you, I thank you, but particularly I want to take this opportunity to thank a great man, a man with a heart of gold, a man who is Labor to his core, a man whose work ethic is only
It's actually a
matched
cult.
by
It
his
is literally a
carpentry
cult, man.
skills.
It's literally a cult.
And I'm of course talking about our leader in the upper house, the Deputy Premier of South Australia, Kai Ma.
It's actually a cult.
I also do want to take the opportunity to give a shout out to our loyal Labor line. Our Labor line's loyalty is only outweighed by his wisdom. I've tried taming him every now and then, it doesn't work, but he fights for our great party every day, and I do want to take the chance to thank the longest serving member of our parliament, the father of the house, Tom Koutsantonis. The other person who I do want to give quick acknowledgement to, I think is well deserved, is our campaign spokesperson, who has done an outstanding job stepping up throughout the course of the campaign, and Blair Boyer. But my most important thanks, hopefully doesn't surprise anyone. I do want to thank the people that mean more than anything to me in the entire world, and that is, of course, my beautiful, ever patient family. Most of all, the most incredible woman I know, a woman full of kindness and warmth, intelligence and grace. And that's my beautiful wife, the love of my life, Annabelle Margaret Malinowski. She's most importantly, she's the incredible mother to our 4 children. This time, 4 years ago, we had 3 kids. Now we've got 4, and I can promise you there are no more. But to Sophie, Jack, Eliza, and little George, who's in his cot as we speak, I love you so much, guys. I'm so proud of all of you. So thank you so much. Beyond my eternal gratitude, I do have 2 reflections tonight. One for my colleagues and another for the people of our state. To my colleagues, although this is a historic result, although it is the best result our party has ever achieved, it's very important that no one confuses tonight's result as adulation.
Yeah, well said. Well said.
Instead, we should see it as only being an invitation to continue to work our guts out for the next 4 years, to make sure that the next 4 years are as busy as the last 4 years. If you're looking for satisfaction in the Parliamentary Labor team, it shouldn't come from tallying votes. It can only come from using the power invested in us to be used to advance the interests of our state and our people. And when I say the people of our state, I mean each and every one of them, regardless of who they voted for at this election. Which brings me to a second reflection. I lined up today, as I've done at each election, at the Woodville Gardens polling booth in my electorate. It's home to one of the more diverse communities in our state. And I got chatting to the gentleman in front of me, who I had met before, and he was Vietnamese. A man small in stature, but tough as nails. He was a boat person. He came out here from Vietnam.
Yeah, they were anti-communist. They were good.
Communism, looking for the same thing that my grandparents did. An opportunity.
Yeah. Nobody's got any problems with anti-communists. No one's
to
got any
live in a
problems with
peaceful country where he knew he could work hard, provide for his family, put a roof over his head, and then in turn give back. And as he was queuing up to vote today, he said to me, rather quietly, "I like elections." Thankfully, he had a Labor How to Vote card in his hand. But it sort of struck me as being a clear signal of what patriotism can look like. It reminded me that patriotism in our country comes in a number of forms, all of them good. And I, subsequently this afternoon when I was thinking about tonight, I couldn't help but go back to a poem that was written by one of Australia's greatest authors, if not greatest writer, in Henry Lawson, who of course appeared on our $10 note. And he wrote a piece titled "The Duty of Australians." He wrote it just post our nation's federation.
Why even bother to quote Henry Lawson when this guy Malinowska said that we should import infinity migrants to wipe people's bums? Why even bother to quote Henry Lawson? and pretend that you like Australian culture and you pretend that you like, you know, Australian bush poets. Why even pretend? Why even do this whole stick of, you know, I'm this great patriot, when you literally fundamentally do not even care if, you know, within 10, 20 years, Australians become a minority in Australia?
Over 100 years ago. 'Tis the duty of Australians in the bush and in the town to forever praise their country, but to run no other down. When a man or nation visits in the heyday of its pride, 'tis the duty of Australians to be kind but dignified. 'Tis our duty to the stranger, landed may be, but an hour to give all the information and
Hey, Malinowskis, you should ask what were Henry Lawson's policies on immigration?
assistance in our power, to give audience to the new chum and to let the old chums wait, lest his memory be embittered by his first days in the state.
Yeah, Peter Malinowskis, ask us, you should just quickly Google what were Henry Lawson's immigration policies.
'Tis our duty when he's foreign and his English very young to find out and take him somewhere where he'll hear his native tongue, to give him our last spare moment and our pleasure to defer. He'll be father of Australians as our foreign fathers were. Lawson was onto something.
Yeah, I'm not, and again, I'm not endorsing it, but like Lawson literally endorsed the White Australia policy. So I don't know why Malinowskis, this guy who claims that we need infinity migrants to wipe people's bums, why is he quoting Henry Lawson? I'm not endorsing the White Australia policy. I'm just pointing out like Henry Lawson supported the White Australia policy. So why is Malinowskis, you know, quoting his poetry, going, you know, this great guy supports me?
That has remained true to this day in our island continent that we call home. And it's why Australians should be patriotic and can be proud of what our nation stands for, because it is distinct. Australians' version of patriotism is a little different to our Northern Hemisphere friends. We are famous for being just a little bit more laid back. That is to say, less brash and boastful and more dogged and determined. We can and we should wave our flag with pride, knowing that Aussie patriotism sometimes means sitting with a stranger and having a cuppa or a frothy and arguing about the footy, not our faith. It's been a hot summer in Australia, so maybe we should all look forward to the temperature coming down just a little bit, so that when we sing the national anthem with pride, we don't forget there is a second verse, which reminds us. It reminds us that when we all combine, we can achieve anything. When we work together, diversity has always been our greatest strength.
Oh, there you go. There's the beautiful word. And they all clap like the cult, like literally the cult.
And for South Australians,
2 months after the worst terrorist attack in Australian history, diversity is our strength.
that matters. Because right now, in our state, it's all hands on deck. We've never had more opportunity in this.
Hey, Mally, if diversity is our strength, why is it that only Australian citizens can work on the AUKUS project? Is there something wrong with non-citizens that might, put their loyalty at question when it comes to building these nuclear submarines in your state?
State than what we have before us right now. And if we are going to unlock that opportunity to take a growing and expanding economy and turn it into improved living standards for everyone, then we've got to work together. If we're going to overcome the challenges that will
It's
be
actually-
before us
it's
in order
actually
to seek
ridiculous.
and share that opportunity, we've got to work together. There is no way that this state comes to its full potential unless we work together. But if we get this right, if we focus on what unites us, a shared love of living in a peaceful, prosperous place, a state full of hard-working people that value care and compassion, then we can harness this moment with our newfound confidence as a state to look out rather than just in.
Albo literally, the Australian Prime Minister got chased out of a mosque yesterday and he's saying diversity is our strength. It's like literally a cult, guys. It's literally a cult.
On ourselves to create new wealth and prosperity by celebrating capital as well as labour. So that everyone has a seat at the table of opportunity. So that we set our state up. For future generations who can choose to call this state home with pride as much as we do here tonight.
Literally had the Prime Minister heckled and called a pig out of Lakemba Mosque yesterday. Diversity is our strength, yeah.
This is...
Australian poetry was resurrected and distributed post-World War II by communists to create a fake identity to separate us from Britain. Most was forgotten until they were curated, distributed by artists.
A great state. In the most magnificent of countries. So let's be proud and patriotic in the Australian way.
Yeah, real patriotism is when you do infinity migration and you dissolve the culture and the nation. Yeah, that's the real patriotism.
And work and walk together to ensure that when we look back on this moment, we can honestly say, we did our bit, we made a difference, and we made sure that the journey of South Australia's march and momentum continued so that everyone benefited, regardless of where they live, regardless of where they come from, regardless of the circumstances they've endured, regardless of their background, just as long as they call South Australia home. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I don't understand it. He says that South Australia is situated illegally on stolen land, and then he says anyone who lives in South Australia, no matter what, literally they could have arrived last week, they're Australian. They're just, as long as they call it home, they're part of the nation. It's AI, it's ChatGPT, it's actually so empty.
And that is the Premier Peter Malinauskas hugging his family, waving to the crowd after giving his victory.
He literally spent 80% of his speech supporting he spent 80% of his speech defending migration, mass migration, and then he basically said that true patriotism was endorsing mass migration, and he used a poet who was a white Australia advocate to do so. Fucking unhinged, I have to say. Fucking unhinged.
Victory speech after sweeping to victory for a second term in South Australia. The chants are going on.
Labor is the future, yeah. Yeah, wait to see it.
He's hugging new members of Parliament. This is a very big night, a historic night for the Labor Party. And watching on right here at the ABC's Election Centre has been Treasurer Tom Koutsantonis, Labor Lion, or perhaps Little Lion, as he's sometimes referred to, Tom.
Pussycat.
All right, guys, I'm ending my stream. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I've got to go off and do some other stuff. I'm glad that we at least saw the victory speech. Malinauskas is a great speaker. He's a good-looking Chad type bloke who went to gym. You know, he's got charisma. But he unfortunately uses that charisma in service of just basically trying to dissolve the Australian nation. And he says that real patriotism is basically supporting infinity mass migration, and that anybody who makes it into Australia, no matter whether they have, no matter what they believe in, what they agree with, whatever they argue for, even if you're an extremist who hates us, you're Australian. That's his vision. And I think that's stupid. He didn't cite a single project that he built or intended to build. It was a cultural speech from start to finish. Literally the only thing that they have right now is just culture war bullshit. Literally the only thing that they have is just like this sort of death drive struggle to try and support infinity mass migration before enough voters lock in against it. They can see that there's starting to be a populist backlash because of the mass migration policies that they have brought in. And then they are trying to basically double down on this sort of death drive to support to import as many people as possible before the populist backlash stops them.
How are you feeling about tonight after seeing that?
I'm incredibly proud of him. I think he's the best premier in the country. I think he's the best leader I've ever worked for. He's a remarkable individual, and I think he thought about his speech tonight, and that Lawson poem is just what the state needed tonight after this result.
Henry Lawson, I don't think people understand. Henry Lawson supported White Australia. I'm not endorsing that. I'm just pointing out like that is a historical fact.
We're all South Australians. We all care about the future of our state.
Australia belongs to the idea of nice sounding platitudes in my head. Thank you and good night. Yeah, that's it.
And in one speech, he brought the entire state together, no matter who you voted for. And it's exactly the type of message that has...
Their strategy is to overwhelm Australians with migration and make them a minority before they can vote to stop it. I agree with Fisk. Unfortunately, that appears to be the case. The strategy is to overwhelm Australians with migration and make them a minority before they can vote to stop it. And they're going to try to deploy the language of patriotism to try to defend that. He was saying that real patriotism is when you do infinity migration and you basically just dissolve the nation. That's what he was saying. Lee Kuan Yew, Respecter. Thank you, brother. You're literally one of my favorite accounts on Twitter. I encourage everyone, go to Twitter, follow this guy, Lee Kuan Yew, Respecter. He's a very smart guy. You're just parodying the Great Replacement conspiracy, dude. There's like the conspiracy theory is that the Jews are doing it. No, that's not. That's a retarded conspiracy theory. But the actual idea that mass migration is at a level that people are going to become a minority in their own country, that is actually a fact. I disagree with the conspiracy theory that Jews are doing it. That's a retarded idea. But is it true that people are going to become a minority in their own country as a result of mass migration? Yes, we are on that trajectory. That is the current trajectory of mass migration at the levels that it is taking place in Western Europe and Australia and much of North America. Yes, the original majority population of the past 200, 300 years in most of these countries will become a minority. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. God bless you all. And we will have to save the country. Thank you so much. We have to save the country.